Welcome in on the Tuesday edition of the Bill Michaels Show. Kind of action-packed today. Just a lot of stuff. Today is Franchise Day, Tag Tuesday. And so that's going on. You've got the teams, they have just, a handful of more hours to put a franchise tag on a player. Otherwise, they are out the door, so to speak. So you've got that going on. We'll get to some news and notes from down in Maryvale today. Our buddy Chuck Freeman is going to be joining us. We are going to have Grant Bill's going to be joining us a little bit later on today. We'll talk with him about, everything that he's seeing. And hopefully he's got some things happening down there for us interview-wise coming up a little bit later on today. Jim Ozarski from the Journal-Sentinel is going to be joining us to talk some Bucks basketball. Bucks have now extended the win streak. And they did it last night. No Middleton, which is not shocking anymore. And no Giannis. Giannis a little tight last night. So said, you know what? Not going to do it. And Damian Lillard rose to the occasion. Drops 41 last night and beat a decent Clippers team. So not a bad way to go at home. Bobby Portis lighting it up last night. Boy, has he become a fan favorite. I mean, he's always been, don't get me wrong. But last night, he had a raise the roof moment a couple of times last evening. So if you were watching that contest, so that was exciting to see. So the Bucks get a win, even though they were shorthanded last night, and they're getting it done in ways we had not become accustomed to this season. So that's exciting. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, and the drama of the NFL. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. The drama of the NFL doesn't really circulate around the Green Bay Packers, but there's just so much going on. Whether or not Baker Mayfield will or will not return, Evans will or will not return. You got Kirk Cousins. Is he on the move? Is he kind of, don't let the, I'll be honest with you. I did not think that the Vikings would re-sign Kirk Cousins. And I know a lot of people thought they would if you're going to run it back. But I don't think I think they looked at this and said, look, we can put Kirk Cousins here and he can get us wins in the regular season and we can end up with 9-10 wins, maybe, who knows? But our defense isn't great. Alexander Madison's out the door. He's on his way down. We don't need him because we let go of Dalvin Cook and then we thought Madison could do the job. And it turns out he's slower than Dalvin Cook was. And he's not as good a pass-catching weapon out of the backfield, yada, yada. So they're going to let him go. But why are we going to pay Kirk Cousins all these tens of millions of dollars to come back, to run it back, to know we're not going to win anything, as opposed to scrapping it and starting it over? Now, the big question you got to ask yourself is Kevin O'Connell the guy? Because the first year he came in, he ignited something. And that team started winning. And remember all those one-score games? They set like a record for one-score games and come from behind wins in a season. And then you thought last year, because they kind of figured out how to win, they accepted and adopted the new system, that they were just going to take off. And instead, it was a woeful regression. And you've got Justin Jefferson, but that's it. You still have decent tight end play, and that's not too bad, but they don't have a lot. So, man, it's kind of like, I don't think they're going to pay him to come back. And sure enough, it looks like they're not. At least not right now. I know the outward discussion game has been, we would love to see, Kirk come back. But I don't think they're going to say, we'd love to see Kirk come back for $50 million a year. That ain't going to happen. So anyway, that being said, that's kind of going on there. You've got, different places that he could end up landing. The whole saga that is Chicago. I would love to know what some of these analysts know. They must have gotten an earful of discussion out of the combine from general managers who have just said, we're not going to trade for Justin Fields. And so the Bears are now kind of stuck with him. At least that's the foregoing conclusion right now coming out of the combine, that the Bears are stuck with Justin Fields. Nobody really wants to give up a lot for him, which is why Bears fans are all up in arms. I was listening to Bears radio yesterday down in Chicago, And he's showed what he could do at the end of the season. He's worth 2 number ones. And I'm thinking, my God, that must just be the mental state of anybody that lives in the state of Illinois, is just everything is more expensive and the taxes are higher there. So therefore everything is worth more. When in reality, no, he's not. He's maybe a 3rd round draft choice at this point. There's not a whole lot of people that are going to really, really mortgage the farm for Justin Fields. It only takes one, but for all the teams that they thought would come knocking at the door, yeah, he's finding out real quick the value, because if you're going to draft Caleb Williams, you're putting your own organization in an incredibly tough position. And what are you going to do? Cut Justin Fields loose? You're going to just cut him, and get nothing? There's a lot of discussion going on in there, too. So we'll get into all of that coming up today. You want to get a hold of us? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can find us there. You can also hit us up on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. You can find Grant, who is down in Arizona, at Wisco Grant. Ebo producing today. Ebo, what is your X handle?
Ebo says. All
Ebo
one
says.
word.
There you go.
Ebo
right.
says.
There you go.
Good morning, Bill. Facebook is down, by the way. So if people are wondering where the stream is at for you, so blame Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, something happened a little while ago. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden Facebook it took a dump. I got up this morning. I was on a conference call, and the people that were on the conference call were utilizing direct messaging on Facebook because everybody's got Teams or Zoom or whatever, but this is kind of like a group thing, and they were putting up all the documents so everybody could grab it off of the Facebook direct message. And all of a sudden it just went boom, and it said log back in, and then you can't log in anymore. So I don't know what happened there, but again, this is twice now within a month that Facebook's gone down.
Yeah, Instagram down, Facebook down, but thankfully, Bill, you're streaming just about everywhere, my man.
Yeah, so at least you get us over on the YouTube, and I've always said YouTube is kind of the way to go. Although for whatever reason, YouTube canned us yesterday. Midstream. Yeah, YouTube went down in the middle of the stream yesterday too. Suddenly we lost our YouTube viewership. So it was a weird day yesterday. Can't
win around here, man. I see you fine on X. You're on X.
Okay, there we go. So we're there. So at least we're on X. So you can find us on X. You can find us on YouTube. Hopefully YouTube's up and working. I haven't even looked, to be honest with you. So
I'm watching on Twitch right now too. So Twitch.
Really?
And
okay.
X and,
yeah, Facebook is 0. We've got 1,200 and something people over on X, and a couple hundred people over on YouTube, but Facebook, where we get a majority, nope. That's it. So there you go. Anyway, that being said, so the day itself, not a bad day today. Well, like I said, we're going to talk some Bucks basketball. I heard you talking about getting Bucks over free TV last night.
Oh, it was beautiful.
That was kind of nice, wasn't it?
I've had this stance forever, Bill. As everything started gravitating towards like cable and then streaming services, the state that you're born and reside in, it's your God-given birthright to have your teams for free over the air on the antenna, and that's what we got last night with the Bucks. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yep, it was good last night. It was funny because I had to search. I started looking. I'm like, where the oh, that's right. And I had to go back to in Milwaukee. I can't remember what the call letters are, but yeah, it was right there.
Yeah, I don't know your equivalent in Milwaukee, but here in Madison, it was 3.2. I did see some tweets coming up from the Milwaukee reporters that they're also on Telemundo, and some of the Telemundo viewers were wondering where their regular programming was and why the Bucks were on. I was chuckling about that.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, it was good to see it over the air last night. I had it on in the background, did a little work around the house, but had to go pick up yesterday and survive the storms. That's the one thing is like when you're getting it over the air, because I actually I have cable, but I have one of my televisions has one of those, I've got everything. I've got a Roku. Which has a bunch of my channels. I've got cable because I pay for that, and I pay for the internet for the business here. And then I've got the thing, whatever it is. It's oh God, what the hell is it? It's one of those like square things. It picks up digital TV over the air. So I have that. And so I ended up going to that yesterday, and I kind of scrolled around just to see. It's it's not the direct TV antenna. It's just an antenna, but it's a digital antenna. So that's what it was. So anyway, but yeah, it was pretty interesting to watch.
How was the storm? How was the storm for you in Milwaukee? It got pretty crazy here in Madison.
I think you guys got worse than we did. I think that you guys did you have tornado watches? yesterday?
I didn't check or look, but
Okay.
I know there was one in the county by us. I didn't really look, but yeah, I just know I was looking out the window. It was nuts.
Yeah, I have. I think we had some severe thunderstorm watches or warnings. I know the one thing, my lighting has been detected in your area. That alert on my phone kept going off over and over, and I was like, "Duh, I can see it." You can see it coming. the whole it was like a light show last night. But yeah, it torrentialed for maybe 5 minutes, and after that, it was just a steady rain. It wasn't bad, because normally you'll see the gully out in front just fill up, and it didn't even fill up really yesterday. So.
Well, you see, like what Lake Tahoe got? I think it was like
right,
like 12 feet of snow or something crazy.
I got a friend of mine that lives out there, and I said, I kind of went to her Facebook page and I checked it, and actually she's not there right now. She's actually visiting her dad in Kansas. But I was like, wow, 7 feet of snow, 7 feet. That's like, I can't even imagine. Remember what did Buffalo get last year when they were digging out? Buffalo got
something absurd like that. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, some crazy amount of snow that they got, and it was like, wow, that was so
much.
They
can have it. They can have it. I'll take the 70 degrees here in February and March. They can
absolutely. Yeah, it was crazy. So anyway, but yeah, the snow out there and they're expecting more. I think it starts today, doesn't it? Aren't they getting another winter storm?
Yeah, it's funny because I know, like, I had a friend that's moving from Colorado down to in Seattle, so she's making the trek, and she's in the crap, like going that way. I was like, hey, good luck. Good luck on that.
No doubt. Yeah, it was crazy. And I think they're getting another one. I think they're getting another one starting today or last night that was coming in. So yeah, Lake Tahoe getting drilled. That whole Northern California area just getting drilled with snow. And like you said, they can keep it. I don't mind because I was looking at the forecast today, like the long range forecast over the next 14 days. I think we're above average the entire time. I think there's only one day that we have like our normal temperature, which is upper 30s, lower 40s. The rest of it's upper 40s into the 50s. This is just bizarre.
Even next week, you get some 60-degree days. I am sold. I am all in on it.
I love it. But did you read, and again, I know we're getting into the meteorological type of stuff, but I was reading about El Nino, which is what we're in, and then a La Nina that is coming. El Nino should probably let go of us right around the end of May. And then we go into our normal somewhat weather pattern. And then the La Nina comes back in about September, because it's the shift in the jet stream patterns. And the La Nina that's not good. Apparently they're saying next year can be, for everything we didn't get this year, we'll get next year, 3 to 5 fold. So deep freeze temperatures, tons of snow, so.
Well, all I know is my snowblower's tuned up. I tuned it up for literally no reason this year. It's ready to go next year then,
I have not used my snowblower in 2 years, and I can't get the damn thing to start.
Mine was a spark plug. I just need to change the spark plug. Maybe it could be a spark plug.
It could be all just nasty gun. Everybody tells me pull the spark plug, put some starting fluid in it, get it to fire up, and then once it starts firing up, then it'll start sucking the gas through. Maybe it'll clean itself out. But yeah, boy. Anyway, let's do this. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free to go ahead and do so. We got a lot to get to. Bucks get a big win last night. We'll get some NFL news out to you, all that kind of good stuff. This portion of the program brought to you by our great friends over there at Quick Trip. Quick Trip is... Man, I love Quick Trip. I was out and about yesterday. I had a little running around to do, and I took a shot. And if you notice, when you go into Quick Trip right now, they have the fried chicken. All the posters and the signs are everywhere at Quick Trip. And so I stopped in, and I've known about it for years, but I stopped in, and last night they've got that dipping sauce that I told you they sent me last week in the mail so we could talk about it. Oh, my God, so good. So I ended up going to Quick Trip, sat down, ate some chicken. That's what I had for dinner last night, along with a little bit of a chicken soup. And that was it. That was all she wrote. That was my night last night. Did some work. Thank God for Quick Trip. When you're out on the road, you always got something right there you can grab. You can either, just throw it in your hand and walk out the door, such as a cheeseburger or something, or maybe take home one of the pizzas, or the chicken. The chicken is absolutely fantastic. And then they have all the take-home meals as well, but the chicken's awesome. Stop at a Quick Trip. Great people, great place. That's Quick Trip.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
0% interest for up to 3 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Pella's free in-home consultations make replacing or redesigning your windows and doors easy. We go beyond just measuring and handing you a quote. We take the time to listen and educate you on all your product options. And with DesignWorks, you can see what your home will look like before you buy. Whether you're looking to replace your windows due to damage or it's time for a refresh and you'd like to revitalize your home style, choosing from Pella's wide range of windows and doors will complement your home's unique design. Pella can also customize, providing nearly endless possibilities for maximum design flexibility with dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Order by March 31st to get 0% interest for up to 3 years. Set your free consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Make it a real Mad March with a playoff payout at Potawatomi. Every week, you could score your share of $100,000 in cash and free play. Play this March for drawing entries. Win each Thursday. Plus, the prizes refresh every week for even more winners. The playoff payout at Potawatomi, Milwaukee. It's anyone's game. For more details, visit paysbig.com/payout. Must be 21 and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. Continuing on. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Kane and Kane Jewelers, Koehn. Kane and Kane Jewelers, they're in West Bend. And stop in and see how Andy's doing. He was sick last week. I stopped up there and he was not doing well. Not like deathly ill. He had the crud. Whatever's going around, he had the crud. So if you're in that area, stop by and see how Andy's doing. But if you're looking for great jewelry, whether it's engagement rings, wedding rings, anniversary bands, necklaces, pendants, earrings, I can go on and on and on, but they just have such a great selection and such great quality, and you don't have to pay we'll say some of the other high-end store prices, and they're just great people to work with. So you get what you pay for. That is Kane, Koehn, Kane and Kane Jewelers, rocking your world, located in West Bend, Wisconsin. Get a hold of Andy and the gang out there, and tell them we said hi. I was just reading, isn't it ironic that, Ebo, you were saying that Facebook is out, and we were kind of talking about that. Did you see where Facebook made their announcement?
No.
It was on Twitter. It was on X. So they had to go to X to make the announcement that they know that over 1 million people are without an account right now. So apparently it's affecting the upper Midwest for whatever reason. I don't know, but they said they know about it.
Yeah, Elon Musk is having a field day with it up on X, talking about you're here because our servers work.
Right. Yeah. It's and like I said, this is the second time now in the last, God, I want to say month and a half, because we were leaving for Super Bowl. And Grant and I were doing the show and Facebook went down. So we had to do a lot of our communication. Because for those that don't know, I mean, I'm in one room, you're in the other. And we communicate via Facebook Messenger most of the time or text. And texting isn't easy to do when you're sitting here, on the air all the time. So, yeah, it's that's kind of how we were communicating. So anyway, that's how I found out about it this morning when I went to log in. And I'm like, oh, crap, not again. So, yeah, this is the second time. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a server or they've been hacked. It's very odd that they don't say what happened. They just say, yeah, we're aware, we're working on it feverishly, blah, blah, blah. And then
it takes you back to life before social media, Bill. And
right?
It's hard for some people to come to grips with it.
Exactly. 100%. That it's funny you say that because I was talking about that over the weekend. I did a charity event and there was a lot of families there, and one of the kids didn't have a Wi-Fi connection. And you're in a building. Have you ever heard of First and Bowl in Milwaukee?
No.
First and Bowl in Milwaukee, it's kind of an activity center. It's not a bowling alley. I mean, you do have bowling alleys, but you throw footballs at the pins. And then it's like bags, but with
I'm
pins.
looking at it right now. It looks pretty cool.
And then they're putting in apparently axe throwing. And then they've got the old Connect 4, but it's a giant board on a wall. And you shoot baskets. You shoot a basketball into the basket, and if your basket goes in, then you get the ball that falls into that particular slot. Otherwise, your opponent gets to shoot next. And so anyway, and then they got golf simulators, and they got their own pizza place and everything. It's just really a cool activity center. But the one kid that was there didn't have a Wi-Fi connection. So with all of that was going on with bags, the bowling stuff, I don't know what was at the other end. I didn't even see it. But then the Connect 4, the golf simulators, all the things that kids could play. This kid was just mad as hell because he couldn't connect. And we're like, we're in an activity center and you're just mad as hell because this is what we used to do. This is the stuff that people do rather than sitting on a Kindle or a laptop or whatever. So, yeah, it was pretty wild.
I read a study yesterday. It was about how Gen Zers aren't getting enough sunlight, and their vision is becoming very poor in their generation because they just sit around and just are glued to their tablet or their phone.
Yep, absolutely.
Go touch grass. Get some sunlight.
Yeah. And when you say go outside, they don't know what to do. It's like, well, what am I going to do outside? There's no mental creativity there. It's really. I agree with you. It's really kind of bizarre when it's like, how many times have you gone to a sports bar or a pub or something, and instead of people conversing, everybody's at the table on their phone?
It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
I remember first getting a dial-up modem back in the day, and my stepdad,
Right.
my stepdad at the time was like, he called it the worm. He's like, I pray for the worm to take down the internet. He's like, this is going to go south very quickly.
Right.
And at the time, I was like, you're crazy, man. Like, you could connect with people. And now I look at him like, I think my stepdad was right.
Yep.
I now pray for the worm.
Yeah.
To take it down.
Yeah. Well, you're an outdoors person anyway. You don't mind biking and all that kind of stuff and doing adventurous stuff. And I really don't either. If it wasn't for work, I don't think I would do it. I really don't. If it wasn't for work, you think about it. Think about what we do. If it wasn't for work and maybe here and there staying in touch with friends, that's all I use it for. But because we are in the clicks business and they talk about algorithms and all that kind of stuff, we have to be aware of that because we have to use social media to reach our people, our listenership and whatever. So we use it. But if it wasn't for work, I don't think I would.
Bill, I say that to my wife every day when she's on my ass about being on my phone. I'm like, it's for work, honey. And she does not believe it, Bill. She does not believe me. You got to talk some sense into it.
No, it's, I'm one that I don't like doing it, but I have to force myself to do it. And it's the little things. And we're getting way into the weeds here. But for people that don't know, for what it is we do, it's all about staying in touch. In touch with, people that listen and actually give a damn in some way, shape, or form about what it is we say. And they love to touch us in different ways. And that's the way to stay connected, even when we're not on the air, and that's the reason we're on YouTube and we're on Twitch and we're on Kick and we're on Facebook and we're, because we're all about, not just the likes, but then the responses and trying to stay in touch that way. It really does become almost a 24/7 job. It really does. Oh, yeah. You can't disconnect. And plus, now it's become to where, I'm sure you do it too, is where you share with your listeners. You're sharing with people that you don't really know, but each other through that. It's
cool. It's cool to connect. It's cool to hear from, listeners popping in from all over the, the United States or other countries. That's really cool. But it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. And now it's just jump the shark. It's past the point where it's like, that's your life, like their life now. And it's kind of sad because once you meet someone in person, not saying that your listeners or anything, but other people in person, it's like, they just can't be the socially norms, right? Like they're out the window.
No, I completely agree. I actually took a class, and I've actually started. I'm starting to take classes again. I've been taking classes on algorithms and how to reach more people and how, without paying services to make you go viral, trying to do things like that. And it's amazing the vast difference of algorithms. There is one class that said you have to post minimal of 40 posts via pictures or videos a day to stay relevant. And I'm thinking, I don't have that much time in my life, which is why places hire services. My
cousin's wife is a social media like juggernaut. She's got a huge account. Like that's her full-time job. My cousin ended up quitting his job and now he works for her, and they do very well for themselves, but that's their life. Like it's 24/7, 365. Everything's a prop. Like that's the life.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. It's just bananas about how much involvement that you have to do. Now, they own like a social media company?
She's an influencer on Instagram.
Really?
Does very, very well. Like it's great for her. It's unbelievable. But
now, how does she do that? Let me ask you this: how does she do that? How do you make money off of that?
So there's multiple things that she does. She like runs like it's like a family oriented towards women, like being a working mom. It's like a bunch of, there's like outfits and then there's trips and there's things that are linked and you click on the link and you get a certain share if the like products get sold and
really
advertisers. It's like radio kind of advertisers glob onto it, and then also like you can have the links embedded into like an Instagram story, and then she tries on outfits and does this and that, and then people go and buy it, and then she gets a share of it. She does very well for herself. She's made a huge business out of it. So my next question is, how did you put the cart before the horse? Did she just start doing it and somebody noticed her? She started doing it as like a hobby, and like it just kept growing and it took years. Like it was a lot of work. It took years, and it was never her full-time job, but it's now morphed into that, and they've become very successful at it. So my hat's off.
Wow. I'd like to sit down and talk with her. I'm always interested to see how people do that. I sat down with the people, the Quick Trip people, because they do a great job. And it's amazing. You go into these meetings now, and there's a lot of these CFOs and marketing directors and vice presidents and this and that, and they're pretty much anywhere from 40 to 55 years old. And then they say, "Here's our marketing team," and they're all 21 and 22 years old. And
she's got a marketing team in LA. I think it's some big marketing firm that helps her out, but she mostly does all of it. Yeah, there's a firm behind it as well.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm always fascinated because there are so many of these influencers that I don't want to say they don't work, because that's unfair, because like you said, it's a 24/7 business to them, but it's where they've just decided to go to the internet, and regular jobs of secretaries and offices and, people doing other things have gone by the wayside. And that's kind of where the workforce has gone for a lot of these places that are still looking for people to come back since COVID, because in COVID, we all learned how to use our phones and our computers a little bit more knowledgeable. So anyway, I don't know.
What's funny is I was reading another story about this, is the blue collar, like handyman, is all like getting jobs like crazy right now, because Gen Z and millennials, they don't either know how to do it or don't want to do it, and all of a sudden you get these handymen out there that are just got so many jobs they don't know what to do with it. So you get the different rise of workers as these other people are leaning into the internet. Yeah,
here's the other thing: if you need a handyman and you've found a good one, you keep them and you do everything you can to help them. Because I'll tell you this, I've had some things that I had a mud jacking. I'm getting way off. I need mud jacking at my house. Do you know what that is? When they pump stuff underneath the concrete and raise the concrete back up?
Yeah.
So I desperately need it at my house. It's a long story, but the back sidewalk is not only leaning backwards, so it's gathering water, but it's also leaning towards my house. So it would allow water eventually to leak into my home. So not that it does, but it's that dangerous at this point that it's getting there. So I had 3 mud jacking companies come out, and they all came out. They all spent time walking through the yard. We sat down and talked. They said, we're going to go back. We're going to write it up and give you an estimate. None of them I heard back from. None of them. I mean, like, I've called them to say, hey, what was the estimate? What? They don't even call back. Yeah. They're like so busy. They're like, if it's a smaller job, I don't want it. I don't want to do it. If it's not doing an entire driveway, they don't want to do it. And in the meantime, I've got a sidewalk that's sinking and a wall that's next to it that holds the garden that's caving in because of it. And I can't get anybody to even give me an estimate, much less do the work. But that's how crazy it is right now, because
I got a buddy that runs like a tree trimming service.
Yeah.
You could take down trees, whatever. He said some guys will go out there and just bid an astronomical price because they don't even want to do it.
Right.
But if the person does, fall into paying that money, then like, well, the money's too good, I guess I'll go do it. But I have so much work that I'll try and price them out so they don't hire me.
Right. And it's like the epoxy guy. He advertises on the show, and he'll call me up and go, Bill, stop advertising me for about a month. Okay, no problem. He's still paying the same. But he'll say, I can't do it. He said, we're so swamped because nobody. And then, he'll get a kid that comes in, works for him for a day, and he's like, this is manual. He's like, yeah, that's what it is. He's like, I don't want to do this.
If you could find that one person you can make a ton of money in the trades now. If you can find that one person's got the work ethic and wants to do it and the gumption, then you can make a nice career. College or whatever, you can trades. Awesome.
Well, without getting too political, we've been sold a bill of goods that college degrees are a necessity. And they're not. And any company that tells you have to have a college degree, unless it's a doctor, a lawyer, or some kind of profession that takes that degree and that length of study, if you can do pretty well in this world if you don't happen to have a college degree, but you're actually smart and intelligent and a go-getter. Otherwise, I don't know why some of these people go out and especially when you got like a liberal arts degree, what the hell are you going to do with that in today's day and age? Maybe it shows the commitment, but if you want commitment from me as a company, put me to work for 4 years and I'll be a loyal, you be loyal to me. I'll be loyal to you. That's my 4-year degree. I don't need anything beyond that. So anyway, I've gotten way off track. Let's do this. We'll step back. We'll come back. We'll actually talk a little bit of sports when we come back. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more coming up right after this. Stay right where you're at.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Bucks get a win last night. Nice win last night, too, as a matter of fact. Good to see them get it without Giannis. And what they're doing right now is it's what we kind of expected earlier this season. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that they finally have gotten structure. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that, whatever message Doc Rivers has been giving them, they're buying into. Maybe it's just the fact that the organization, when it comes to the head coach and the team and to how they go about their business, as far as players are creatures of habit. They like routine and specific routine. And maybe it was scattered before. It's not now. I don't know. But whatever it is, they have bought in, and it's been fun to watch. The Bucks continue the win streak, and now they, as we all know, they head out to the West Coast. They got to go on the road. They got the Warriors, the Lakers, the Clippers again, and then the Kings before coming back home to face the 76ers. But since the All-Star break, when, remember, Doc Rivers famously said it seems like everybody's mind is, what do you say, in Cancun or on basically vacation, they have now reeled off 6 straight wins. 6 straight wins this team has done. So if they can keep it going, the Warriors, not the same. Boy, the Warriors are that, if you want to call it a dynasty, I think that dynasty is rapidly coming to an end. The Lakers, with all the pomposity of LeBron, they're playing some good basketball, but I still don't look at them as a viable threat in the West, albeit the West, I think, is wide open. Then there's the Clippers, who they just ended up knocking off, and then the Kings before they face the 76ers and the Suns. The Suns are an enigma. Booker and company, and obviously having KD, it seems like they've got talent. They can't do it on the regular. They just don't put it together. And then obviously that big game that's going to come up on the 20th this month, where they're going to go into Boston and face the Celtics. And that's your litmus test. How many games did they lose on the West, if any at all, do you think?
Well, I think they'll beat the Warriors.
They should beat the Warriors.
Lakers the Bucks sometimes don't fare that well in the West, but this is a different reiteration. And if Giannis is out with that Achilles soreness, the Warriors, I say yes. Lakers, I say yes, because they're kind of trash. Clippers, maybe at home. Clippers take one, and the Kings, 3-1. Why not get 3-1? They're hot.
And that's not bad. If I'd say you go to the West Coast and you've won 6 straight, you go 3-1, that means you'd be 9-1 in your last 10 games before coming back home to face the 76ers. They should knock off the 76ers. They should beat them.
Yeah, they're banged up.
The Suns that's always an enigma. I don't know why it just is. But to me, you got to beat the Suns because you want to have that momentum going into Boston. And the Boston game is kind of cool because they play the Suns on the 17th. Then they don't play the Celtics for 3 more days. So they've got plenty of time to rest up and get ready for that East Coast, which is really weird because they got 2 at home, 76ers and the Suns. They go to Boston. Then they come right back home for 3 more straight. It's kind of a weird dynamic as far as their schedule goes. And then obviously you look towards the end of the season where they've got on the 9th, you kind of circle that game back at the Fiserv Forum because that's going to be ramping up for the postseason because you only have 3 games left in the season after that. So that game against Boston back at the Fiserv Forum, that's going to me anyway, I think it's going to feel like you get the Raptors and Knicks, but more so the Knicks and the Celtics. That's going to feel like a playoff atmosphere. You got to feel like it's going to. Then they get the Magic at home. Then they go on the road for the final 2 of the season against the Thunder and the Magic. And then let the postseason begin. But the Bucks are back on top in the Central. And they're just, they're the team that's behind the Celtics. And now everybody, I was watching the NBA Network this morning, and everybody's looking at the Bucks going, is this the team that everybody expected at the beginning of the season that now is probably the only team capable of knocking off the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series? I don't know if they're there yet, but at least they're trending in the right direction. But that's the game that everybody's going to circle. That's going to be the one in Boston on the 20th if the Bucks come back from this West Coast swing with a head of steam. So we'll be excited about that. In the meantime, in the NFL, you got a flurry of news. And let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We went a little long in the last segment. So we'll come back and we'll talk about all the different stuff that's going on. By the way, the Giants will not franchise Saquon Barkley. They still want to work a deal out with him, but he's heading towards free agency. Saquon Barkley heading out towards free agency. That I have a feeling that it's funny because the franchise tag they don't want to use on him for $12 million. But T. Higgins coming out of Cincinnati, if they franchise tag him, it's upwards of $25 million. Look at the disparity between wide receivers and running backs, and who is more valuable? That's amazing to me that Saquon Barkley, they don't want to pay him $12 million. That's crazy. Let's do this. We're going to step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get back into this. More of the Bill Michaels Show next. Ready?
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
0% interest for up to 3 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Pella's free in-home consultations make replacing or redesigning your windows and doors easy. We go beyond just measuring and handing you a quote. We take the time to listen and educate you on all your product options. And with DesignWorks, you can see what your home will look like before you buy. Whether you're looking to replace your windows due to damage or it's time for a refresh and you'd like to revitalize your home style, choosing from Pella's wide range of windows and doors will complement your home's unique design. Pella can also customize, providing nearly endless possibilities for maximum design flexibility with dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Order by March 31st to get 0% interest for up to 3 years. Set your free consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Got to say thanks to our friends at Point Brewing in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And Point, I tell you this, they had one hell of a Bach run this past weekend. They had some good stuff going on, and if you ran in it, congratulations to all of you. If you didn't, that's okay. I'm sure you enjoy the products anyway. But Point Brewing, right here in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, whether it's the Snow Pilot or the lagers, which I enjoy. They've got obviously the milkshake malt. They've got a lot of stuff coming out for summer as well. So, and then they have the cider boys. They have the NA stuff. Plus, they have a whole line of sodas for the kids. They even have a kiddie cocktail. So much stuff from Point Brewing that they do right here in our own backyard. Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Support local. Support Point Brewing. Been brewing all kinds of good stuff since 1857. That's our friends at Point Brewing. And also a big supporter of the motorcycle ride coming up on Sunday, September 1st. We are hoping, by the way, speaking of that, to make some announcements, hopefully this week or next. I'm glad I didn't because we had a couple of bumps in the road, but we're really working to make this thing the biggest one yet in many different facets. So if you're a rider and you follow us, hang in there. But we've got some really cool stuff that's on the horizon. So if we can pull this off, it'll be a really, really cool launching point for events to come. So looking forward to that. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. So the Giants, they are not going to franchise tag Saquon Barkley. The Panthers, by the way, they did put the non-exclusive franchise tag on their edge rusher, Brian Burns, today. That guarantees him $24 million this season, unless somebody happens to match that. So he's got that was placed on him just a little while ago. The franchise tag today is the deadline to do it. So that's the reason you're seeing all this stuff come out. The cornerback for the Jags, Darius Williams, he was cut today. They saved $10 million in cap space. So you got a cornerback out on the market. So there's going to be a lot of guys that are looking for jobs. The biggest one that's going to be out there is that the Broncos did make the announcement and let Russell Wilson know he's not coming back. He's not going to. So they're going to take, the Broncos are, an $85 million. That must be, how big of an indictment is it on Russell Wilson where they're like, you know what? We'll take the $85 million hit. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here with your office and your trainers and your segregation from the rest of the team and you being above everybody. Get the hell out of here. Where him and Sean Payton just did not see eye to eye. How, Ebo, did you talk about this at all about Russell Wilson? Like, I know he did a lot for Wisconsin in the year that he was here, and he was certainly part of that championship run with the Legion of Boom and company. But like for a long time, below the surface, it was always he is an unbelievably fake person.
Yes,
and now I think going to the Broncos organization, do you kind of get the sense that this all has now come to light to where, like, get the hell out of here. We'll take $85 million hit just to get rid of you.
I mean, that's saying something, isn't it? If you're going to take and eat that much money and for all the capital that you gave up and, you know, the pieces that you gave up to get him to say, I'll take the $85 million, that's a huge indictment. Right? We did talk about it. It's absurd. It is wild, but that shows you how much they wanted to move on from him. And you're not getting out that from a while. But he put himself on a pedestal. Yeah. He had his own little wing in the coaching staff, his own playbook. He's just a bizarre guy. And I don't think the Broncos helped themselves by hiring Nathaniel Hackett either. No. They were trying to get Aaron Rodgers. You go plan B with Russell Wilson, and he's not Rodgers. He don't have it.
The most telling moment, I think, in the Russell Wilson saga in Denver was when they had to play in London. And Nathaniel Hackett made sure that everybody had good space on the plane and get your rest because it's a weird travel time. They wanted the guys to sleep. And Russell Wilson decided to do high knees running up and down the aisle to work out and kept everybody awake. And he said he needed it because he needed to be able to burn off the energy so he could sleep. And that was kind of like, okay, that's your leader. That's your leader. That's the guy that, you know, that's the guy that has to kind of do anything, regardless of anybody else. Screw everybody else. I want to do what I want to do. And I think that was the beginning and the end for me when I thought this is not going to work there.
Like he puts him, like I said, on a pedestal.
Yeah.
I remember when, he had this. Remember that soft? It was a drink that he had with nano bubbles that allegedly like stopped concussions, which was snake oil.
Right.
After the Seahawks lost, when they threw the interception, he took him on top of a mountaintop and he saying like "Kumbaya" and cried.
Yeah.
It's like this walking on water, holier than thou kind of mentality that just rubs everyone the wrong way after a while.
Yeah.
Hell, you had that guy from the Seahawks on during Radio Row for the Super Bowl week. He was trying to be kind, I think, to Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was saying, if you read between the lines, I think it was like, this guy kind of.
Yeah. He's a douche, without saying it. I mean, that's just, I think it's one thing when you lead your life in a particular way and you just do good or whatever, and there's a lot of people that preach God and gospel and all that kind of, and I don't mind that. It really doesn't bother me. And being Catholic, I can appreciate it at times. But there's guys that flaunt it as if to say, look at me, and then they don't really live it. They become almost a facade that they're building up more of an image than they are actually believing in what it is they say. Russell Wilson a lot of people, in other words, he didn't walk the walk all the time, according to a lot of people behind the scenes. He was a facade more than anything else.
Well, the Vikings are on a short list for him too.
Well, but
can he win?
The best part about that is that will he swallow his pride and take a minimal deal? Because the question, he's made over $300 million in his career. Will he go someplace and fight for a job or be okay being a backup? I mean, to most teams, there's also talk about him going to New England still drafting a quarterback, and for a year or two, depending on how well he plays, maybe being a mentor. But do you really want that guy mentoring your incoming quarterback, especially with a new head coach? I don't know that I would. I mean, for Russell Wilson, it's a great opportunity because he would be kind of a leader coming in, but it's how you maintain that leadership thereafter. So he would have an opportunity to kind of have a reclamation year, and then maybe he either moves on or whatever. But do you really want him in all of his bravado mentoring a young guy? I don't know if I would. We got 1 hour down. By the way, Facebook is back up. Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff for those that need it, that can't live without it. And I believe we are up and running over on Facebook now, too. Yes, we are. We're up and running on Facebook via video, too. So I saw that back, too. So anyway, there you go. Good stuff there. 1 hour down, that fast. 1 hour down, more to go. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, no Giannis, no problem for the Milwaukee Bucks as they would come back by 13 in the last minute of the third period to beat the LA Clippers 113-106. Damian Lillard had 51 points. Bobby Portis scored 14 of his 28 in the fourth quarter. The Bucks have now won 6 in a row, undefeated after the All-Star break. Bucks head coach Doc Rivers talks on the win.
The whole second half, obviously, we were much better. We went zone a lot in the second half. We switched everything. And honestly, it's a make-miss league as well. They missed some shots that they normally make. Maybe their timing was off because of the zone. I thought it did help for sure. And then I thought our execution offensively was unbelievable down the stretch. We got the ball to the guys that we wanted to get the ball. When they trapped, we moved the ball. We kept the game simple.
Up next, the Bucks begin a 4-game road trip starting Wednesday at Golden State. Turning to the Badgers, they've now lost 7 out of their last 9 games and are fading as March begins. Wisconsin, they'll have a chance to get back in the win column Thursday when they host Rutgers for their final home game.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin's student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Wisconsin football has their 8th commit in the class of 2025. That would be 3-star linebacker Samuel Leitchu. He announced yesterday afternoon, ranked as the 26th best player in the state of New Jersey, chose the Badgers over offers from Maryland, Pittsburgh, Duke, Boston College, and others. And finally, with the NFL Combine behind us, NFL free agency gets underway on Monday. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Hour number 2. Life seems to be back to normal. Our friends at Meta, they got Instagram and Facebook back up and running. Twitter was laughing at them the entire time. But all seems to be right with the world now. So there you have it. Talking some NFL and who may be on the move and franchise tag day and all that kind of stuff. We were talking about the Broncos and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's got 85. I still can't get over that $85 million cap hit that the Broncos are going to take just to get rid of him. That's, I mean, when Matt Ryan was at the end of his career, he just didn't have it anymore. It was clear. And the Falcons, they took a $40.5 million cap hit. Now the Packers, in order to move on from Rodgers, took a $40.3 million cap hit. That's now the third largest cap hit to move on from a player. I mean, Brady, when he left the Buccaneers, it was 35.1. Carson Wentz with the Eagles, it was 33.8. But the largest cap hit by far, more than doubling, Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers. Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers together, their cap hit would not equal what the Broncos are willing to pay to get the hell rid of Russell Wilson. That's like crazy. That's just amazing to me that they're just willing to part with him like that. Now, who may take him on? The Broncos didn't get enough, in those from the franchise quarterback moments that they were hoping for. Wilson played for 3 head coaches in Denver. Nathaniel Hackett, Jerry Roseberg back in 2022, the interim, and then Sean Payton last year. And Payton had enough of him in a heartbeat. Remember, he was the one that was trying to tell him, quit kissing babies, quit praising God, quit going out and doing all the other crap, and start looking at football more serious. And Russell Wilson apparently took offense to that, and they butted heads from then on. So that never worked out right, which is funny because Russell Wilson said, for me, it's about winning. Over the next 2 years, I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to feel the chill of that trophy again. I'm an athlete. I love the city and I love everything about it. But you also want to be in a place that wants you. The thing I want to do is win, and that's all I care about. Well, it's his salary this year. You could almost sign him for a veterans minimum deal because they're paying him. So he's getting paid a gob of money this year. He doesn't have to play for anybody for anything if he doesn't want to. But if he's truly about winning a championship if he's about winning a championship in the next 2 years, where's he going to go? What's a team that is viable enough, that is missing a quarterback, that he could go to if he still has it, listen to coaches, kind of redeem himself, and build some kind of a legacy in that next city? Out of all the teams, Ebo, that you would think this guy would need to go to and say, okay, this is where he can maybe redeem himself, where would he go that is capable of winning a Super Bowl? The only team that I can think of that would be, say, on the cusp or at least has enough talent would be like Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I actually have the odds-on favorites here out of Vegas, Bill, for Wilson's next team. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the favorite at -200. The Raiders second at +275. The Falcons +400, who are sniffing around Kirk Cousins, by the way.
Yeah.
Patriots +750, and the Vikings +1,000. Those are your top 5 teams.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so if I'm Russell Wilson, you got Josh Allen and Tua in the East, and now Rodgers when he comes back, but you're starting at the bottom of New England, who ended up with 4 wins last year. They're not going to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. Pittsburgh could, and Pittsburgh went 10-7 with a mishmash of quarterback play. But do you want to get in the division with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow as well? And remember, Cincinnati won 9 games. They went 9-8, just missed the postseason, and they didn't even have Joe Burrow. Do you really want to get into that division? What was the other one? The Raiders? Yeah.
Yep, Raiders. Yep.
If he goes to the Raiders, that might be the best situation for him. That seems like a Raiders move, too.
Totally. And you could have Sierra. She could have a residency in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like an old aging star. Russell Wilson goes out to Vegas,
Yeah.
Harkens to those old musicians getting old, and you get a residency out there.
Yeah.
But Mike Tomlin, I mean, the Steelers, they set what NFL history by like giving up more points than they're scoring and still, making the playoffs and winning games. Could Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson coexist?
I think Mike Tomlin might be the best thing for Russell Wilson. That's just my thought. And for Mike Tomlin, if they would do that, that's a dangerous game because that's either going to make you or break you. Because who do they have? Kenny Pickett is their quarterback, and he's not that good. And they keep saying they believe in him, but that's because they don't have anybody else. But and like Cincinnati, they got Jake Browning backing up Joe Burrow, and he's not going to go there. And Jake Browning was a decent backup. Jake Browning actually won some games. So I can see that being a very Raiders move, is paying him minimal, see what he can do. He's already got a good wide receiver in Devontae Adams. He's got a pretty good tight end. He's got a decent defense. They feel like they are on the cusp of getting ready to do something kind of cool. Could Russell Wilson go thrive and survive there in the glitz and glam that is Sin City? And not to mention, he wouldn't then be the biggest star on the team. It would still be Devontae Adams and Max Crosby. And I'll guarantee you, he's not doing high knees up and down the aisle with Max Crosby on that flight. We saw Max Crosby a couple of times in Vegas. That guy ain't putting up with crap. He'll be like, sit your ass down, or I'll beat you and throw you off this plane. We got other quarterbacks. That's the kind of guy he was. And then where else would you go? Who else did you talk about? The Vikings?
Yeah, the Vikings were 5th on that list, plus 1,000.
It would make sense for the Vikings because they could get a quarterback indoors, still mobile somewhat, and they don't have to pay him anything in the midst of a rebuild. That makes sense. And you still got Justin Jefferson. You're not that far away. I think you're more of the addition of defense than you are the offense from actually being something. So maybe you are in your second year. You could actually end up winning if you're the Vikings. Maybe you go in that direction. Beyond that, where else are you going to go? Atlanta? I don't think Atlanta wants him. I think you're crazy if you put him in Atlanta with a lot of those young guys. Although you do have a run game down there, you'd be able to actually run the ball with B.J. Robinson and company, and that would take the pressure off of Russell Wilson so he doesn't have to go out and make all these off-scripted plays like he likes to make.
I think it'd be very uncomfortable in Atlanta for Russell because, not to get into the TMZ side of things, but Sierra's wife, her old baby daddy is Future, who is in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And he despises Russell Wilson, and so does all the guys he rolls with. So that'd be family-wise, I don't think it would jive too well.
Right. So I don't think Atlanta wants him. I think Atlanta is either going to do Justin Fields or roll the dice with Kirk Cousins. But so that's like it. There's really no other place to go. Everybody else has a quarterback.
Vikings would be interesting. The Vikings got to draft. They got to draft a quarterback.
Right.
You get Russ in for a stopgap, help mentor, tutor, I guess, someone, and maybe.
Yeah. You were a 7-win team last year, and you're in the midst of, whether you like it or not, you're in the midst of a rebuild. The problem is Kevin O'Connell a big enough coach to be able to control the mental aspect of what is Russell Wilson and his ego. I don't know if U.S. Bank Stadium is big enough to hold it. Russell Wilson, whoever he ends up playing for, he's going to have to meet with the general manager and eat a ton of humble pie. Because my first thing would be like, do you still have it? Let's look at you physically. Let's look at your tape. And then secondly, you're not getting an office. You're not getting special trainers. You're a part of this team. And this is your last shot, dude. You either prove it to me or you just keep on moving down the road. Because I'm not going to sink a bunch of money, if any money, into a quarterback that's aging and become somewhat of a pariah that somebody else is willing to pay $85 million just to get the hell out of the building. So you're kind of in the catbird seat when you sit down and talk to Russell Wilson about that. But where's he going to end up? And what happens if nobody picks him up, or if they pick him up as a backup? That's the other thing. Does he get picked up and then he goes somewhere and has to swallow even more humble pie by going as a backup?
Well, remember that report out there that someone, I forget the talking head, but they're like, he should be a backup behind Aaron Rodgers for the New York Jets. That did take like $1 million something deal.
Right. I get it. 100%. And he could do that. God knows what. How old is Russell Wilson, by the way? He's what, late 30s? 36, 37, something like that?
He is 35 years old.
35, that's it. Oh, my goodness. So he could still play. I mean, if he's got his legs under him, he could still play for another 4 or 5 years. Yeah, he should. If I'm Russell Wilson, I wherever you got to go, and don't do it at home. Remember when he had everybody to his house? He built a football field in his house, and he had everybody out to his house, and they were showing the picture of shrimp and lobster and everything, and they're out running, kind of patterns, and he's throwing deep to these guys, and then they're all sitting around in these chairs with these waters with lemon and eating lobster and shrimp and all this stuff. It's like, come on, man. All I kept thinking is remember, what was it, Rocky 3 or whenever he was going to fight Clubber Lang, and Apollo Creed took him back to the hood to say, this is where you need to train. And he put him in just a god-awful situation. And he was like, this is where you need to be. These are the people that are hungry, that want to whoop your ass. This is the look you need to get, the eye of the tiger thing. That's what he has to do all over again. He's got to get out of the croquet fields and stop eating the lobster and the shrimp and actually get back down and dirty again and get back out and try to do something. So anyway, too much on Russell Wilson, but I just find Russell Wilson an interesting character. 877-867-1670. So a lot of news coming out of the NFL today. The good thing is really not much, nothing at all really about the Green Bay Packers in this sense. But is there anybody that gets cut that the Packers would then have an interest in? I think that's where it becomes probably the most salacious when it comes to whether or not the Packers are going to pick somebody up. There's a lot of players that are getting released for salary cap ramifications. There's corners, there's safeties, there's guys that can't come to agreements. So a lot of stuff going on. You've also got the Jets. They're expected to release their CJ Uzomah. Their tight end. He's going to be out on the open market. Do you look at some of these guys and go, you know what? You already have two really good tight ends. It's a position that, while it's decent, it's not heavy in the draft this year. It's not deep. And would you then consider maybe, because you do need a backup, and Ben Sims was okay, but would you go and bring in a free agent that then becomes the backup, a guy that needs kind of a reclamation project that still has some of the hops that maybe you want? Would you bring in a tight end, or is this strictly all defense? Because the tight end position is an area that we've got great up-and-coming talent in, and I'm excited about. But it's also not deep. And you'd like one more guy that can fill the bill just in case. We've seen this before. You're like, oh, boy, you got 5 great receivers, 2 really good tight ends, and the tight ends are so utilized in Matt LaFleur's offense, and he likes 11 personnel, especially when there's, some heavy-duty rush coming from the outside. And, and then all of a sudden, both Musgrave and Tucker Kraft go down, and you're like, holy crap, we don't have anybody. You need one more guy, one more formidable guy. Now, you're going to do that in draft. Or you're going to do that in free agency. I got a feeling they're going to do it in the draft, and then kind of stick with a guy like Ben Sims, Joel Wilson. I don't think you're bringing back Tyler Davis, but would you do that in the draft? Probably, because I think what you want to do with your resources is put them into the secondary and bolster either your safety or your corner or both. Maybe a middle linebacking as well, because if you cut Devondre Campbell loose, your middle linebacking is going to need to be upgraded there as well. So that's probably where you're going to spend the money, but some of these guys are going to be on the open market. Is there anybody in particular you would want to see come into the Packers organization? Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. This portion of the program brought to you by Veterans America. Own the land you defend, as they say. Call James Mercado and the whole staff over there who work, and they do so much in as far as knowledge goes of the veterans and the military members and their families' VA loans. They know it better than anybody, and they can get you better deals. I don't want to say deals because that's not, maybe it doesn't make it sound right, but they just know it better than anybody. And they don't leave anything on the table. Like a lot of credit unions and such, they will. They don't. Veterans America, that's the way to go. 262-745-3333. 262-745-3333. That's Veterans America.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. I got a nice note from a buddy of mine, Mike. He had just shot me a text over the weekend. It said he'd never been to the Nice Ash before. He lives in Green Bay, and had come down, and he goes to Prohibition up in Green Bay all the time. And he said he stopped down to the Nice Ash. Man, what a cool place and a great vibe. He liked the vibe it had. And I said, look, it's like that all the time. Every weekend, they have music Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They have Mondays. They have the poker, big screens everywhere, so you can watch sporting events and such. They pipe it through the sound system there. So just a terrific place. And it's right there in downtown Waukesha, which is Waukesha every year continues to revitalize itself. and do something, whether it's new streets, sidewalks, new buildings, new facades, new businesses coming in down there. It's really grown. If you haven't been to Waukesha, man, it's really cool. 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha. That's The Nice Ash Cigar Bar. The Nice Ash Cigar Bar. If you want to go to theniceash.com, you can check it out. But Nice Ash Cigar Bar, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram as well. They always have something cool going on, and they got really fun bartenders and such. So and he's right, it's just a great vibe. But I haven't been there in a while. Ever since I got sick before we left for Super Bowl, I have not had a cigar since. And I'm going to be back this weekend most likely, but it's been a while. Just haven't had the time or I feel like it wasn't like I was ready, so to speak, but I'm going to get back down. Even if you don't smoke a cigar, that's fine. It's a great place to go to and just kind of hang out. But theniceash.com, find bourbons, whiskeys, hookahs, huge walk-in humidor, great selection of different whiskeys. Man, they've got a whiskey club that's out of this world, but that's theniceash.com. So during the break, a couple people texted, and I think it was Pac-Fan over on the live stream, said, was the Russell Wilson trade the worst in history? And it got me thinking. So, the Seahawks got the quarterback, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, 2 first-round draft picks, 2 second-round draft picks, a 5th-round draft pick, and they gave up Russell Wilson in a 4th-round draft pick. That's got to be one of the worst. I mean, the other one that I think of, that as far as all-time bad trades go, there's 2 of them. One is remember when Ditka was running the Saints and they traded up to get Ricky Williams. They traded a 1st round, a 3rd round, a 4th round, a 5th round, a 6th round, and a 7th round. All their picks for Ricky Williams. And they traded 3rd round picks in the following year to take the 2nd overall pick for Ricky Williams. Now, I think Ricky Williams had more success as a running back in New Orleans than Russell Wilson ever had success in Denver. But remember, that was the iconic, was it Sports Illustrated? Do you remember that, Ebo? That Sports Illustrated, they had that picture of Ricky Williams in a wedding dress with Mike Ditka. You were alive back then? You were probably small. I was
alive. I was a big Ricky Williams guy.
Yeah.
Yep. It was ESPN. The magazine had it.
Okay.
It was and Mike Ditka.
Yeah. That was a terrible trade. And then the other one that everybody always thinks of right away is, when Jimmy Johnson set the Cowboys dynasty up when he made that massive trade back in 1990, and he got rid of Herschel Walker for 4 draft picks to Minnesota for 5 players, 3 first-round draft picks, 3 second-round draft picks, a 3rd-round draft pick, a 6th-round draft pick. That to me still is, this one and the Russell Wilson one are the 2 probably right there. Walker played only 2 seasons in Minnesota and never reached 1,000 yards in either year. So that to me are the 2 worst trades in NFL history. And that's even including when you start to look at what the Bears did trading up for Mitchell Trubisky. Because the Bears, they and I kind of smile when I say that, but the Bears, they got rid of, what was it, a 1st, a 3rd, I think it was a 4th round pick, and I think it was another selection or something like that year, and they moved up 1 spot. One spot.
A 1st, a 3rd, a 4th round pick, as well as a 3rd round selection in 2018.
Okay. And
in that same draft, Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Right. They will forever kick themselves for that. Every time Patrick Mahomes does something, everybody in Chicago just groans. They just groan. And they traded up 1 spot. In San Francisco, they didn't think was going to take him, and I can't remember who was behind San Francisco, but they didn't feel San Francisco was going to take him. Or San Francisco basically said we had no intention of taking him. So they did all that for nothing, basically, and then forced Mitch Trubisky down everybody's throats in Chicago for years because of what they had invested in him. And That's right up there. So
don't forget, Ryan Leaf, San Diego sent 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and 2 players to the Cardinals to move up from number 3 to number 2 in the first round. But Peyton Manning went number 1 overall, Leaf after that. And
right. Yeah. God, yeah. Ryan Leaf, he had all that. They thought he had, to me, he had as good of an arm as Manning. He was just a mental case. He was a mess. And boy. I remember it was the Chargers that grabbed him, and I'm like, wow, that he lasted what? How many seasons? He didn't even play that long. God, that set that organization back for years, but he didn't even play that long, I don't think. I think he only played a few years. Like he played out his rookie deal and tried to get a little bit more money, and that was it. Nobody wanted him. He was terrible. He was awful. But he was a guy, where did he come out of? He was a Washington Husky, wasn't he? He came out of Washington. I think they won a Rose Bowl.
Washington State.
Washington State. Okay.
He played 98, 3 seasons, 2 with the Chargers and then the Cowboys, and then he was done.
He was done because he was a mess. So yeah, it was some of the worst trades in history. Yeah, no doubt. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you give us a shout, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Our buddy Steve says, nice win for the Bucs last night. I thought that Doc Rivers coached a good overall game, especially in the fourth quarter. Dame is playing better defense, and the bench stepped it up with Giannis and Chris both out. Which, by the way, I had a question earlier about Chris Middleton. When Chris Middleton fully comes back, I'll get into that because the question is, do you think Chris Middleton's going to be kind of bogging down the offense? Because things are starting to really look good. Chris Middleton is not a defender. He's gotten slower. He's banged up. Does Chris Middleton bog this thing down when he finally comes back? We'll talk about that. He says, my question is, can the Bucs go deep into the playoffs without Chris? Is it possibly his last year due to the age and the injury history? Looking at several bracket predictions, Marquette number 2 or number 3 in most of them. However, Bucky is down to a 7 seed and considered to be a team that's on the bubble now. How many wins do they need to make a deep run in the Big Ten tournament to get off of that bubble? And are they out of the NCAA tournament if they lose early in the Big Ten tourney? Who do they have left? They only got, 2 games left? Correct me if I'm wrong. 2 games left. They got to Purdue. They still have, and that Purdue game is on the road. That's in West Lafayette. Who's the other team that the Badgers play?
Rutgers Thursday at the Kohl Center is their last home game, and then Purdue on the road in West Lafayette. Like you said.
Rutgers at home, and then Purdue. They won't win the Purdue game. I don't know if
they win the Rutgers game. They lost them earlier in the year.
Yeah, if they win the Rutgers game, they play strong against Purdue, and they got to win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament. And I think they're off the bubble. But if they lose the last 2 and they're a one and done in the Big Ten tournament, no. I think they're NIT bound. I don't think that happens. And that's a shame, too, from the way they started. They can't finish games. It's unbelievably frustrating to watch this team battle and battle and battle. And you're like, okay, this is it. Here you go. Because they had a legitimate shot at beating Illinois. I thought they were going to. I'm like, this is great. So much so that I was sitting in my car at Quick Trip getting ready to fill up my tank, and I didn't want to get out of the car until the commercial break. I mean, I was excited. And then I fill my car up. I come back out after going inside and grabbing a sweet tea, and next thing you know, they're down by 6. I'm like, oh, God, what the hell happened? A couple of possessions, turnover, bad shot, couldn't hit anything down the stretch, and next thing you know, game over. So it just can't close them out, man. They battle. I've said it all along. It's not for a lack of trying. They battle. This team hasn't quit. But, man, it's so frustrating to watch this team right now. Just is. But for them to fall out of the bubble, holy mackerel. How is Grant, Ebo, let me ask you this. And we were talking the other day that a lot of all these guys want to come back and play for Coach Gard. And they all want to come back next year. So there's nobody that's indicated they want to get out of the program. That being said, suppose they do lose to Rutgers, or let's say they beat Rutgers, get beat by Purdue, and they're a one and done in the Big Ten tournament. And they don't make the NCAA tournament. Does Gard lose his job?
Man, you go back-to-back NIT. You were once 6th in the country. You don't really see much progression out of some of these players. how much good faith has Guard built up. But then you look at, the new AD, Chris McIntosh. Look what he did,
Right.
with Luke Fickell, saying bye to Paul Chris, no to Jim Leonard. Luke Fickell comes in. Look at Wisconsin hockey. They get Mike Hastings, immediate turnaround. Hell, they almost won the Big Ten over the weekend. 2 seed coming up here in the Big Ten tournament. Guard seat's hot. I think there would be one more year, but if he makes the NIT and not March Madness, I could see potentially a move being made.
If I could see it, I could see a move being made. Now, the question is, if you're McIntosh, you have to ask yourself, is the program heading in the right direction? Is the program stagnant? Is the program just hanging on? Those are all questions you have to answer.
I think you got to look at too the staff around Guard. You know, maybe Guard stays, but you got to switch something up with your assistants.
Right.
So something needs to happen.
I'm not calling for a firing. I'm just saying that there's a process here that you have to analyze. And we saw him look at what was going on with the football program and going, nope, this ain't right. We're done. This is not what Wisconsin football is. This is not what we've built over the years to all of a sudden start to descend. And granted, there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that was going on. And so I understand that. But what he wanted was, is this going to be a big time football program the way we envision ourselves to be? And the answer was at that point in time, no. So you had to make a deal. You had to make a deal to go ahead and eliminate Paul Christ and then move on. And then he ended up getting the big name. So do you do that with the basketball program? Because are you going to get a big name? Are you going to get an assistant that's then going to try to build the credibility of the program and then take it up even higher? That's the question. Because, in that sense, Luke Fickell was a name that was on everybody's lips. I mean, Notre Dame wanted the guy, So you're talking about big-time programs wanting that guy. Can you go out and get that same caliber of coach if you're going to, say, move on from Greg Gard? And you answer the questions in many, respect, no, that the program's not headed in the right direction. Is there a coach out there on that second level, that next level, that's going to take this program even higher and give them the more national recognition that you're seeking? Because if the answer is no, and you've got everybody that wants to come back, then I think what you do is you let Gard run it back. You let him run it back one more year the seat's going to be really, really hot, but you let him run it back for another year with everybody coming back. Because this is all your guys. This is your portal guys. This is all the guys that want to stay. These are the guys that want to play for you. This is all your guys. So that's what you're asking yourself. Do you want to let him run it back one more year with his guys? Or is it time to say, got to move on, got to elevate the profile of the program, and this isn't getting it done? I think those are the two questions you're going to have to answer if you're McIntosh sitting there looking at the pro. If they don't make the NCAA tournament. Now, if they make the tournament, how many games do they have to win in the tournament? I think
Sweet 16.
I say at least 2. You got to go to the Sweet 16. If you go in and you're one and done again, what are you doing? You're treading water. But you got all the same things, all the same reasons still sitting there. Do you make a change for the sake of change to elevate the profile of the program, to say that this isn't acceptable? Or do you say all these guys want to come back? They've had a taste of this tournament. They want to do it one more time. Do you let them run it back one more time together? Or if you don't see that there's going to be legitimate growth and it's going to get better, then do you make a change? If you say, you know what, I'm glad everybody wants to come back, but you're not going to get any better next year. We're not seeing the growth that we want, so therefore we're going to move on. Because they could say that too. They could say that, then thank you, but no thanks. It's about the program. So it's going to be some interesting discussions at the end of the season for the Badger program for sure. After just putting us on high alert to just how good this team could be, to see it just all kind of get frittered away, man. It's God, we had such high hopes. Such high hopes. You want to get hold of us, 877-867-1670. Hang in there. Our friends over at One Collision, man, if you've had a fender bender of any kind, get a hold of our friends at One Collision, County Line in Menominee Falls. They do great work. Made my car look like brand new. The gaps were perfect between the door and the quarter, between the trunk and the quarter, the rear bumper cover, all that. It was all perfect, absolutely perfect. Everything works perfect. They completely repaired the rim, made it look like brand new. Everything was perfect on that car when I got it back, and they detailed it when they gave it back to me. I don't think it's been that nice since I took it off the showroom floor. One Collision, County Line, Menominee Falls. Great people to work work with, and they let you know what's going on every step of the way via text message, or if you want to place a phone call. But texts come through almost every other day to let you know where your car is at. 262-251-1700, 262-251-1700. That's One Collision County Line in Menominee Falls.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Make it a real Mad March with a playoff payout at Potawatomi. Every week, you could score your share of $100,000 in cash and free play. Play this March for drawing entries. Win each Thursday. Plus, the prizes refresh every week for even more winners. The playoff payout at Potawatomi, Milwaukee. It's anyone's game. For more details, visit paysbig.com/payout. Must be 21 and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on, talk a little Bucks basketball. Bucks have won 6 straight, and man, after the All-Star break, they have got it going on. They were 3-7 under Doc Rivers prior to, but since they got a little bit of time away and they've come back and they've regrouped, holy mackerel, the Bucks get a 113-106 win last night without Giannis. Joining us on the hotline, Jim Ozarski from the Journal-Sentinel covers the Milwaukee Bucks, making his weekly appearance. Jim, how you doing today, man?
Good, Bill. Getting ready to go to San Francisco for the start of a long West Coast trip for these Bucks.
Yeah, you got 4 of them. At least you got a back-to-back in L.A. where you get one day off to kind of not do much. Maybe go out and count the homeless people or something like that. But that being said, what has been the turnaround since the All-Star break in this team? The most glaring thing that you can point your finger at?
You know, I'll just sort of echo the things that all of the players have said, and then, of course, Damian Lillard said so eloquently again post-game last night, is just the definition of roles from Doc Rivers. Look, they all admitted that communication was not great, you know, when Rivers took over. And this was from the coaching staff to the players and then amongst the players themselves on the court. I mean, their first practice in Dallas, you know, Bill, in early February, they all said, no, Jay Crowder told me, we're a low communication team. We don't talk very much on the court. And look, Doc has come in and he has communicated exactly what he wants, from whom, when, and how. And then that has immediately translated, especially on the defensive end of the court, Bill. And yeah, when you're down Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo against one of the hottest teams in basketball, one of the best teams in the West, and you're able to get it done because the role players around Damian Lillard knew what to do, where to be, how to do it, why, right? Like, so I think that is for sure the biggest change amongst this team, and it's really connected and come together since the break in particular.
So it's the communication, but does it feel like, I guess my next question is, because look, there was a lot of concentration going into the break when I don't know if it was Bobby Portis wasn't happy, but it seemed like he wasn't being utilized right. And it seemed like guys were kind of doing their own thing, like you had stated. And it seems like, man, Bobby's into the mix now. They're setting things up for him more consistently. Damian Lillard seems to have a handle on what his role is, even without Chris Middleton on the floor. It seems like guys are moving to the ball better. You can actually see a semblance of offense that has screens and workability, and you don't have Giannis bringing the ball up the court all the time anymore. Did Doc say, okay, look, scrap everything we've talked about or you learned before this year, this is the way we're going to do it? Or is it like, hey, this is what Damian's good at, this is what Giannis is good at, we're just going to accentuate what these guys are good at and we're going to build it around them?
Yeah, it's the latter, Bill. I mean, last week I wrote a story, and we saw this coming. Dane saw this coming, you know, where he had told me, he's like, look, I'm happy in Milwaukee. I'm pleased with the situation. However, it hasn't been the most comfortable on the court in the offense. And he said, Doc Rivers is addressing this finally. And basically, Bill, it's the things you have said. And then Doc said this to me. He said, after made baskets, Dame barely brought the ball up the court. And he's like, that's unacceptable, essentially, to paraphrase Doc Rivers. Like, look, in transition, miss basket, Giannis scoops that defensive rebound, he pushes it. There's no, I mean, he is the best in basketball in the world at that. You don't want to change that. But after a made basket, get the point guard into things. Let Dame run some Dame stuff from Portland, things he's comfortable with. And that's not always with Giannis screening, which, again, Bill, has always been this focus of everyone. Brook Lopez is pretty good at it. You know, Pat Connaughton is pretty good at it. Bobby can do it. And now, so Dame knew and believed he would get more comfortable. Maybe these games, look, if Giannis is out and Chris is out for part of this trip, Bill, maybe this speeds that up. Now, to your first point with Bobby, just broadly speaking, Bill, I think, look, he's the sixth man or seventh man. Yes, he could start on another team, but in Milwaukee, he's a role player, and he plays that role really well when he knows what the role is. And I think that goes back to Doc just putting these guys in the spots that they're going to be successful at.
So moving forward, okay, Chris Middleton, at some point, he's going to come back. He's going to be into the mix. I get all of that. My question with him is, does he bog down what it is they're doing?
I don't think so, because Chris is a smart guy, and he pays attention. And look, I'm sure a listener might say, hey, well, there definitely were your turn, my turn times with Giannis and Chris and Dame. But I also think that was before Doc really got his fingers into this team. You know, I think Chris is going to know where to be and how. And particularly, Bill, like, look, right now, Doc wants to keep Giannis or Dame on the court together at one time. He said when Chris gets back, Chris is going to be that bridge. There are going to be times where it's a Chris and Brooke, you know, they're the starters with three bench guys. And so and there's going to be times where Giannis and Dame kind of have that also. So there's your sort of, okay, you're the playmaker, the shot getter type of thing. Chris told me this at the very start of the year, Bill. He's like, look, man, I started my career as a catch and shoot 3-point guy. You know, and then I turned into the pick and roll guy. And then I turned into the ball handler. So like he feels he can slide in and fit where it needs to. I think what we may see a little less of, though, is Chris bringing the ball up after makes. Again, having him create that space for Dame when Dame brings it up. I think that'll be the interesting part to see when he comes back.
What is the health like for Chris Middleton right now? I mean, we all kind of hold our breath every time he goes to the floor, and whether or not he's going to get back up or there's going to be another injury. And you and I have had, prior to this, you know, this rash of injuries that he's had, he was pretty much injury free. He was always pretty much available, and he just has not been available at all. What is his status right now?
Yeah, so Doc Rivers, you know, insists that he didn't have a setback with this ankle. You know, it was bad, Bill. I mean, you know, Kevin Durant stuck his foot out, and that's why that's a flagrant foul. Like, they want that out of the game. You know, Chris lands on that foot and totally rolls an ankle. And look, now the Bucks are very tight-lipped. They have not come out to say if it's a grade 3 or 4 ankle sprain. At this point, Bill, that was February 6th. I think it's fair to say that was a very severe ankle sprain, right?
Right.
Like, and things like that I mean, sometimes, Bill, it's better to break the ankle than to have that kind of sprain, because you got to wait for everything to reset. Now, Doc Rivers did say Chris is doing some intense workouts, sort of on air, if you will. And he did say in Minneapolis, you know, about a week ago, that if this were the playoffs, Chris could go. Now, I don't know what that means, like what his you know, capacity would be, but it does make sense at this point that why push it? Because look, they have won some games. Obviously, if Giannis is going to miss time here, it's going to get more difficult. But Bill, I think we have learned, if Chris is not healthy, I don't know, even with Dame, they can get to where they want to get to. So it's sort of like, well, let's just manage this and make sure he is truly 100%, you know, when he steps back on the court.
Everybody's asking today, is the Bucks, the way they're playing now, Can they beat the Celtics in a 7-game series? Are they on that level? And the Celtics, man, what they're doing this season is, I equated it to what the Bucks did a couple of years ago when they won a championship, because the Bucks were beating teams via double-digit margin of victory. That's where the Celtics are. Are the Bucks climbing towards that level, do you think, when they're back and they're fully healthy?
I mean, we'll see very soon. I mean, that Celtics game is coming up fast. You know, in Boston, I think both teams, I'm sure, will have that circled, Bill. I personally think that the Bucks are a good matchup for the Celtics. And yes, I'm going to put respect on the Celtics name. They're doing great things. They're going to have the best record in basketball. But I just think that there are things the Bucks can do that Boston can't handle, mainly Giannis. And I also think the Celtics' depth, you know, at a certain point might be an issue. So yeah, I think the fact that the Bucks have turned the corner this much defensively, Bill, the fact that Jay Crowder looks like a guy who's 31 years old instead of 35 right now, the fact that Patrick Beverley is being utilized in his minutes and can help be a disruptor in that backcourt. Yeah, Bill, I do think, I mean, I'll be honest. If you were to tell me right now, I'd probably pick the Bucks in 7.
Really?
I feel good about that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good for that. Well, you're there, so I'll take your word for it, man. That's great. Jim, enjoy the West Coast. Stay, keep your wallet in your pocket. Make sure you're all locked down, because you never know what's going to happen out there. And then we'll see you when you get back, and we'll talk again, okay?
All right. Sounds good, Bill. Talk to you then.
Appreciate it, bud. There you go. Good stuff from our buddy Jim Ozarski, who says, look, the Bucks, the way they're playing right now, the way they're trending right now, that's the team that can beat the Celtics. That's it. That's it. There you go. Good stuff. Like that. Love to hear that kind of stuff. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
0% interest for up to 3 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Pella's free in-home consultations make replacing or redesigning your windows and doors easy. We go beyond just measuring and handing you a quote. We take the time to listen and educate you on all your product options. And with DesignWorks, you can see what your home will look like before you buy. Whether you're looking to replace your windows due to damage, or it's time for a refresh and you'd like to revitalize your home style, choosing from Pella's wide range of windows and doors will complement your home's unique design. Pella can also customize, providing nearly endless possibilities for maximum design flexibility with dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Order by March 31st to get 0% interest for up to 3 years. Set your free consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Hey, if you're out in the La Crosse area, maybe you're going to start some renovation projects. You got a new home going, whatever it happens to be out there. In the La Crosse area, whether it's, let's see here, you got Vernon County and you've got Jackson County. You got all those different counties out there, including out in Alaska and all throughout that area. You've got a lot of opportunities out there as far as renovations go, plumbing jobs go, heating jobs go. Our friends at Every Plumbing and Heating, serving La Crosse, Trempealeau, Monroe, Vernon, Jackson County, all those counties out there. They do some great work. They just hired some more plumbers too. So if you've been kind of, I hate to use the term backed up on waiting for a plumber or waiting for a company to work with, because everybody, we were talking about it before, everybody's busy. They have just hired on some more people, and they're getting to jobs as fast as they can. So whether it's a water softening unit, maybe putting in-floor heating in, maybe you want to put a heater in your garage, you want to get into the HVAC side of things, there's all that stuff that they can do. But plumbing is kind of right now, they're doing a lot of remodeling and a lot of new home construction. So if you're a contractor out there and you're looking for somebody to work with too, Every Plumbing and Heating, third generation, they've been around a long time. So they're, first of all, they're sustainable. Second of all, they're going to be there. That's a good company to work with. Craig is a great guy, and all his staff are as well. 608-783-2803, 608-783-2803. Every Plumbing and Heating, serving the entire La Crosse, that whole area, the western portion of the state of Wisconsin. Good people over there. We got 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. We're going to talk to our buddy Chuck Freeman about some Brewers stuff. Last hour, we're going to talk with Grant Bills out in Maryvale, Arizona. Don't go anywhere. Got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Bucs kept their post-All-Star game run going last night with a win over the Clippers. They have now won 6 straight games, their second longest winning streak of the season, but they will certainly be tested in the coming weeks as they hit the road for a 4-game trip to the West Coast with matchups against Golden State, the Lakers, Clippers, and Sacramento on the docket. Coach Doc Rivers was asked whether the trip would serve as a test as to where the team is.
Yeah, I'm not a big test guy. I really am not, because you don't know where your team's at. You go on a West Coast trip and everybody's healthy and feeling good. You go go sweep it and then you go get your butt kicked the next 5 games. So I don't ever evaluate that way. I've never done that. It'd be nice to win them all and come back and say, man, we're doing great. But it still doesn't matter, if you know what I'm saying. So I just look at us being better each night.
Rivers was not sure if they'd have Giannis Antetokounmpo or Chris Middleton when they face Golden State tomorrow. Giannis missed last night's game with Achilles tendonitis. Middleton's still out with an ankle sprain. Turning to the Badgers, they're back at practice today, looking to find some answers to their late season slide. They've lost 7 of 9, very much in danger of not getting a first-round bye in the conference tournament next week. They will close out their home schedule on Thursday against Rutgers.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin's student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, Wisconsin landed its 8th commitment in their 2025 recruiting class last night with New Jersey linebacker Samuel Leteju. The 3-star recruit chose the Badgers over Boston College, Pitt, Maryland, and others. And the Brewers back in action today out in spring training as they take on the Giants in Arizona. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, print.
Welcome in. Good to have you. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show, we continue on. A couple of different things that have come up that I want to get into. We're going to talk with Chuck Freeman of the Locked On Brewers podcast coming up at the bottom of the hour. And Major League Baseball, the Baseball America, came out with the top 30 prospect list for 2024. And the Brewers have 2 pitchers, Gasser and Mizorowski. Mizorowski, I think, number 2 on that list. And Gasser, I think he ended up coming in, Mizorowski's number 2 in the club's top 30, and the Brewers, Gasser, I think, ended up at like number 33, just outside of that list, but very highly respected. And both of those guys, because the rosters will be announced on Thursday, so they start making the rosters, and then after that, you get, kind of, I hate to say cut down day, but the guys that are going to go to the minor league camp, no, they're going to the minor league camp pretty much at this point. There's only a couple of spots probably available on this team, and it's more so in the pitching department than it is anywhere else. But those guys, very bright outlook. So we're going to talk about that coming up here at the bottom of the hour. The other NFL thing I wanted to get to, and we really didn't get to this much yesterday, and the NFL wants to tinker with 2 things specifically. They want to tinker with the onside kick, and it's like somebody was listening to us. It's really weird. We'll bring this up, and all of a sudden, 2 days later, it's a topic. But the NFL, the onside kick is really they eliminated it, basically, by moving the kickoff the way they did, making you can't run prior to the kickoff. Offsides is one thing, but you can't get a running start, and they moved the opposing team further back, and it became a really awkward scenario. And the percentage of onside kicks that were being recovered were nil. It was negligible at best, and it really took a fun element and an exciting element, I guess might be the best way to put it, out of the game. They eliminate. Same thing with kickoff returns. I think it's a shame that kickoff returns aren't around anymore. I hate to use the bear, but Devin Hester was an exciting player to watch, because anytime they got the ball in, and even Keyshawn Nixon to a certain extent 2 years ago, was an exciting player to watch. You just never knew what was going to happen. It built excitement. It kept you engaged. And now kickoffs are just, it's going through the motions. There's not much to it. And they really, I think they've screwed that up. Anyway, that being said, they're talking about tinkering with that and they're going to electronically measure first downs. Did you read this, Ebo? That they're going to use like a laser to measure first downs now?
I was looking into it.
Are you a fan of this?
The more you put technology into something, the less fun it gets, in my opinion, and the more it just becomes robotic.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan. And also, Bill, they want to change the kickoff, but also add a 18th game.
Right.
Player safety.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so
the whole first down thing. I don't know. Like
I can't tell you how many times you're sitting there watching a football game and you don't pay attention to it, but you watch one of the line judges. They run over. They put their back heel on the line where they look at it. They eyeball it up and they kind of guesstimate it to be. And that's where you stick the chain down, the yard marker. And then you pull the chain taut, and that's 10 yards. And that's where you need to get past to get a first down. And it's a rather wide margin. It's the width of a heel, plus it's eyeballing it up. And I get it. I understand it. And it's just something we've always kind of lived with. But for a game of inches, that is, first downs become such an incredible exact science as to whether or not the ball is or isn't over the line, and and ball placement and spotting the football and this and that. We get just so bent over some of this stuff. Well, now they're like, okay, let's laser measure it. Let's put it right on a laser. And that doesn't lie. There's no room for argument anymore, other than maybe where we spot the football.
Remember the note card they busted out a couple of times?
Yeah.
We're not gonna get the note card anymore. Oh.
Yeah. So they do
it in tennis? They do it in
Yeah.
soccer now with all the goal technology.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
I am in part for it, but it really does take, unless you take the football and put a chip in it, that is going to always, as it's in motion, it's always going to tell you the furthest movement of motion to where it actually got to before maybe say the whistle was blown. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. It just seems like, you'll figure it out. But have we really enjoyed instant replay in Major League Baseball?
No, not at all.
No, we haven't.
And they still get it wrong sometimes.
Yeah. And what is the Fox tracks on Major League Baseball with, pitches in and out of the zone? You'll see pitches that are 3 inches outside of the zone that are still being called strikes. Now, I know umpires get rated on that, but it hasn't changed anything. I mean, maybe it's tightened up strike zones a little bit but we don't. It's all subjective because it's where the ball crosses the plate and the trajectory it's being thrown at and all. I mean, I don't know. It seems like they're tinker with what doesn't work, not what is argumentative, I guess. What isn't working is onside kicks. What isn't working is kickoffs. They've eliminated that portion of the game. You want to eliminate injuries, but this doesn't do anything for the other stuff. I don't know.
Well, you think robo-umps are coming to Major League Baseball? They already do them in AAA.
I think they're not far away. I really do. I think the reason that you're not going to get the robo-umps in Major League Baseball anytime soon is because of the contracts they have with the Umpires Association. I mean, that's the reason you're not going to get them right away. But yeah, eventually it's. Yeah.
I like the arguing.
Right?
It's a part of. I like when they get up in an ump's face, or can't really argue with the refs, but an ump, like a manager, dust up. They've taken that away with instant replay. I love nothing like Lou Piniella going out there and stealing a base and running away with it.
Right. Where's the last time you saw go back to, Piniella throwing a base out on the right field, or, Earl Weaver turning his cap around to get nose to nose with an umpire? I mean, when's the last time you saw anything like that? Now, I know baseball technically wants to eliminate that, but when's the last time you saw that stuff? It doesn't happen anymore. It was a flavor of the game. It was a caricature of the game, and you don't have it anymore. It lost a little bit of its flair. I will say that the games, I like the fact that they sped the games up. That I was digging last year.
That's nice.
That was cool. So, I mean, I could sit outside and watch an entire game, and the game was over before it was getting cold enough for me to go back inside. So I was giddy with that. But I don't know. Football is hard. You got 22 dudes on a field just beating the hell out of each other. It's hard to be perfect and regulate everything. There were some things that were blatantly wrong that officials just didn't get. But And I know they're trying to do their best. And here's the one thing I will say is about officiating, if you've ever tried to do this, and you can't do it with the Packers game because you're too emotionally vested. But if you've ever tried to look at a game from an official's perspective, I did this once. I had a friend of mine he's a high school official, and he said, okay, he watched it with me. He said, sit down and let's look at it through my eyes. I said, okay, great. So the whole time, we're not watching the game. You're not watching a game. You're watching each individual. And when you're watching certain things and certain plays in certain ways, you're not paying attention to the downfield stuff, or you get kind of tunnel visioned, and you do miss things. There are things you will miss because you just are concentrating on your section of game. And so it happens. And it gives you, like sometimes, with the technology we have to be able to spot a football, there should be something upstairs, much like they have in college, where you can just buzz an official and say, wait a minute, something's not right here. Let's take a look at this. The spot was off. You got a guy upstairs kind of overseeing. The spot was okay, whatever. But some of this stuff you're just going to miss. You're just going to miss it because you're looking for other things. And sometimes the obvious that hits you in the face is not what specifically you're looking for. And I know that sounds crazy, but try to watch a game through like an official's eyes and watch the officials and where they're looking and what they're doing and what they're seeing. For guys that are bigger, stronger, faster, and are running 4.2s and 4.1s or 4.2s and 4.3s now, that's tough. It's tough for an official to be able to watch everything at every moment at every time. So I can see why fans get frustrated, because I do, but it's not, there's a human element to it. It's not easy. And I don't want to see it. I don't want to see officials replaced by robots. I don't want to see that. I don't want to get to that point.
We're pro-human, Bill. Pro-human.
We are. I'm pro-fallibility. That's what I'm pro. I'm pro-fallibility because it sucks when the Hail Mary becomes the Fail Mary and you're on the receiving end of it. It sucks. It hurts. It's painful. It sucks. But on the other hand, it's part of that game. It adds a flavor to it, and I don't know. I'm not in favor of more technology is necessarily a good thing. Steven says, embrace it. It's coming. Michael says a totally unbiased ref is a fallacy. The only way to come close would be to have a ref that doesn't like the sport that they're officiating. Annie says, I completely agree with you, Bill. And Winning Gambler says, holding is a joke and the biggest way officials can get the outcome that they want. Nah, holding's always a part of the game. It just depends on how blatant it becomes. You're taught to do things a certain way. And if you get outside of that, you got to know, as an offensive lineman, you got to know when to let go. It's one thing if he's coming right at you and you're staring him in the eye and you're kind of steering him, so to speak. It's another thing when he's trying to grab the ball carrier running around the edge and you're still hanging onto his jersey to where it's stretching to the side. You can't do that. You got to know to let go. So holding, you can call holding on every play, but holding, every penalty should be called in detriment to the play, not necessarily just because, if that makes sense. Michael says the past couple of years, the officiating has been exceptionally bad. I think worst since the replacement refs. I don't know about worse since the replacement refs. I think it's because we are all. I don't think so. I think officiating has been bad because we can question it with social media. Because somebody got a picture of an angle that we're going to jump on. Right? Somebody got a picture of an angle. Somebody took a picture of something. Somebody's going to post something that we're all going to see and go, oh, there you go. This sucks. And we have more access to fallibility, I think is even since the replacement refs. Pac-Fan says, what about the garbage spot on the Jordan Love sneak versus the 49ers? I think a chipped ball and grit on the field would have got the spot correct. See, yeah, but I think what was more egregious was the fact that the 49ers lined up in the neutral zone. That was the more egregious, penalty that should have been called. It should have given the Packers a first down. I look at that play with Jordan Love, and part of me goes, from one angle, he got it. From the other angle, he didn't. So I can't sit here and say with absolute positive certainty that ball crossed that plane at that moment in time with momentum and what have you. But I can tell you that looking down the line, that the 49ers lined up in the neutral zone. That I can tell you. But again, I hate it that it turned out that way, but I enjoy a little fallibility. We're all still talking about it. If there's a ball that's chipped and he didn't get it, we'd still be arguing about it. Oh, the chip's off. We'd still be arguing about it. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. We're a couple of weeks away, less than 2 weeks away, as a matter of fact, from our friends over at the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. And it is Cynthian that is coming to town. It is going to be a rocking time. But if you can't make it to Cynthian the night before St. Patrick's Day, that's okay. They've got a bunch of other musical acts that are going to be rolling through there. And it's all at the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. You don't need to be Irish to go there, by the way. I had a guy ask me the other day, I was out and about, and he said, hey, that Irish Center, do I got to be Irish? I'm a part of the Italian Community Center. I'm like, no, go. It's open to the public. It's a fun time. And Cynthian's going to be a party the night before St. Patrick's Day. There is no better way to get in the mood for St. Patrick's Day than that. Stop out and you can check it out. Go to ICHC.net. That is ICHC.net on West Wisconsin Avenue, just west of the Marquette campus. And it's going to be a party. And if you can't make that party, they got plenty of others. Go and check it out. ICHC.net.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
She's in love with him. Can't find a better man.
the month of March. Sobelman's Pub and Grill. The Reuben sandwich is back. The Reuben is back for the month of March. So if you're going to go in there and get the Bloody Mary, get the Reuben along with it. And you get the fries, you get the pickles, you get all kinds of good stuff. But they also, by the way, have a Sobelman's in Waukesha out here near me, which I am aching to stop in and frequent. Waukesha right there on William Street, as a matter of fact, right across the street from La Station. Sobelman's Pub and Grill, a staple in Milwaukee, whether it's the big burgers. The Reuben is back for the month of March. The big Bloody Marys with a whole chicken in it, whatever it is you want on your Bloody Mary, they can probably stick it on there. But the Sobelman's Pub and Grill in Milwaukee on St. Paul Avenue, Waukesha. They have a Sobelman's out here. So I was on the air the other day and mentioned it, and I got a text from a friend of mine going, "Where? No, they don't." I said, "Yeah, they do. Check it over on William Street." And yes, they do. They have a Sobelman's there. So stop in. As they say, we should catch up. So let's meet at Sobelman's. Sobelman's Pub and Grill. Thanks to them for being a part of the program as well. This is from Jacob. Jacob says, I don't mind a little screaming and yelling, but please, for the love of God, get the call right. That's what technology is meant to do. I agree that the problem with the technology, if you're going to use it and you're going to be able to specifically measure first downs, that's fine. What I don't want is what we have in Major League Baseball, where you're constantly walking to the top of the stair. You're looking back to see if the replay is going to show yes or no, and this and that, and it bogs the game down. You're right. So many games, whether it's baseball or football or tennis or golf or whatever it is you're looking for. Golf, I think, is cool because you can see the trajectory of the ball. You can actually see where it's going. I think that's cool. That's been a terrific advent of the game. But stopping every moment of every game to see close plays, and this is part of the reason also that officiating and umpiring has seemingly gotten worse, is because they let it play out. You're taught as an umpire, for the most part, unless there's an injury or something, where you believe it's downed and time should be stopped or what have you, they let it play out. Because let it play out. Let the video replay determine what was actually should have been called or could have been called or what have you. Let that figure it out. You let the play out. And that's what Major League Baseball tells the umpires and the NFL tells the referees, is let it play it out. Do what you can to let the play, kind of run its course. And then we can go back and look at it. And that's the reason sometimes you look at something, you go, but wait a minute, where was the spot, or, did they get the first down, or, because of stuff like that. Football's a little weird because it becomes subjective to pass interference. I don't hope they ever. Ebo, do you ever hope to get to the point that they're calling pass interference via video? God, no. Right?
No. Bill, Facebook just went down today for an hour and a half. Like, all this technology, we can't get Facebook right.
Facebook and Instagram screwed us. Screw technology. We're out. Peace out, bitches. I'm out. I get it. You know what? They've got now there's
still a human element. You still got to,
right.
It's someone programming something, someone doing something. Then what constitutes like actual pass interference if a robot, an AI is calling it?
Right.
You need interpretation there.
They have cameras in the pylons now. You've got as much technology as you can possibly have squeezed into this thing. I just don't want to see them. I guess if it becomes an exacto figure for the down markers or something, maybe it'll work itself out, and there's very, very human interaction when it comes to stuff like that. But other than that, I'm just go back to just leave it the way it is. You're tinkering with too much. Just go back to the way it is and call it a day.
What's one sport that you can never do it? Like basketball, for example. Like you watch basketball game, like how was that a foul? Well, there's a travel, but they don't call it. Or someone fouls and they don't call it. It's like, how do you judge a foul in basketball?
Right.
Half the time I'm watching the Badgers, when I'm watching them lose, I'm like, well, that's not a foul, or that's a foul that should have been called.
Right. Well, you don't need to look any further in the NBA than watch LeBron take a pass just beyond. Did you ever see that video where he takes it just beyond the half court line and runs to the hoop, never dribbles? And dunks it and never gets called for traveling?
I couldn't believe I was watching. I've seen that. It's just absurd. I was watching. I think it was the 76ers Bucks, the second game back from the All-Star break. I could not believe what I saw. They called Giannis Antetokounmpo for a travel, but he didn't travel.
Right.
I was blown away. I'm like, that is bizarro world.
Right. I think too much technology is not a good thing sometimes. And I can pull that video up. That video of LeBron, getting a pass just beyond the half court line and running to the hoop like 5 steps and never dribbles the basketball and dunks it. And everybody in the arena is like, are you going to blow the whistle or not? And the official just doesn't do anything. It's I don't know. And then, I'll tell you this, if you really want to put technology into basketball, this is what would screw the whole game up. You put gloves on. Did you ever go to a basketball camp, Ebo? Did you ever play basketball?
Yeah. When I was at middle school.
So I went to a basketball camp. I went to a couple of them in high school, and I went to the Indiana back when Bobby and I had a basketball camp. And to handle the basketball, they put gloves on you, fingerless gloves, and they just covered your palm. And in the middle of your palm was a button. And if that button was compressed enough, it would, and basically what it was is if you were palming the basketball, like, how they do in the NBA where they dribble it, they kind of catch it, then they pick it up and roll it over, palming the basketball. Watch Chris Middleton. He'll carry it and walk around with it for a minute. If they ever took that, which is technically illegal in the game, if they ever eliminated that, where they put the palm, things on these guys, these gloves on these guys to make them hold the basketball, and if it put pressure on your palm for more than a second, it buzzed and it was called palming, and then you had to turn the ball over, that would change the game of basketball in the NBA entirely. Entirely. I mean, because you can watch guys when they're trying to back somebody down, they're doing that, they're palming the ball, and when they palm it, they'll dribble it, and then they'll pick it up in their hand and hold it for that split second, which allows them to either back down or to turn around and shoot. But if you're just dribbling, it also allows the defender to swipe your hand through there. If you can see the rhythm of the basketball with which this guy's dribbling, if you can get your arm around him, it makes it easier for you to swat away the basketball. And their turnovers would be more prevalent. It would be playing true defense to that point. They will never do that because it would change the game dramatically in the NBA. Yeah, every now and then you'll see palming called in college. You never see it called in the NBA, and they're the worst defenders of it all. Okay, let's do this. We're going to step away and take a quick break. We got Chuck Freeman's going to be joining us, and Chuck's going to be talking some Brewers. Brewers, a couple of nice prospects in the system, and they're back at it today. They were off yesterday, so they're getting ready for that stretch run. They've got one more off day before then they head north, and so to speak, and then they begin opening day. And then don't forget, Tuesday, April 2nd. Tuesday, April 2nd. We are going to be live. We're going to be at Stenny's. It's going to be opening day, and the shuttles are going to be running, but the entire Bill Michaels show, Chuck, also our buddy Kevin Holden from CBS 58 and Telemundo, all going to be on hand down at Stenny's. We're going to have a great time. Come down and enjoy the food, the Bloody Marys, the drinks, the beverages. Take the shuttle over to the ballpark. You don't have to drive. You don't have to pay to park. Get off the shuttle, walk on in, enjoy the game, then come back to Stenny's and hopefully enjoy the victory feast afterwards. But we're going to be there. Stenny's, 2nd and National, Walker's Point. Brewers home opener, Tuesday, April 2nd. Make sure you put it on your party plan to come on down and spend some time with us and then head off to the game, or just stay and enjoy the game on the tubes down there. So come on by and say hi. Chuck Freeman joining us next to the Bill Michaels Show.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. We going to talk some baseball. Going to talk to our buddy Chuck Freeman of the Locked On Brewers podcast, and you can catch his stuff there, YouTube, and all over the place for that matter. But the Locked On Brewers stuff he does continuously. Chuck, how you been, pal?
You know, I was dying for some of that spaghetti, your homemade spaghetti that I was telling Shannon. I said, boy, I could go for 3 plates.
I haven't made it in a while. I got to make that. I haven't done that in a while. So when I do, I'll give you a shout and let you know, even if I have leftovers or if you can make it for the dinner, I'll do that.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, the bread that you have going with it, those big meatballs,
Yeah.
Just amazing. And the secret sauce, whatever you put in there, Bill, I don't know what it is.
old Uncle Joe Bellafiore recipes. So, yeah, it's good stuff, no doubt. Chuck, what has stood out to you so far regarding this Brewers camp?
Well, it's funny because wins or losses obviously don't mean a thing for these guys. It's just a matter of some of these guys getting to work. Now, Jackson Churio's off to a slow start. He's 3 of 17. Jake Mizorowski got sent down to minor league camp today. Same with Brock Wilken. Mizorowski's going to definitely be part of this team in the future. But there's just no room for him in the bullpen, obviously, right now. And Brock Wilken was tearing the cover off the ball. And some people thought, well, should he be the starting third baseman, which was never going to happen. He's not going to be on the opening day roster, and he's going to be in Double-A to start the season. But he's their draft pick and, led college baseball in home runs last year. So, some of the young guys, Churio off to a slow start, and, there shouldn't be any panic at all with that. None at all. He's just off to a slow start, maybe put a little pressure on himself. But as you know, baseball is a game of streaks, Bill.
So, pitching-wise, has there been anything that, positively speaking, that has stood out to you? Because we always talk about the guys that are struggling a little bit. We talk about the guys that just aren't off to a fast start. They're not spotting their fastball. They're not doing stuff with their breaking stuff. But what has positively stood out to you? Do you know?
Well, the guys from the bullpen have got their work in and things like that. And, this DL Hall looks like to be the real thing, who they got from the Orioles. Now, when the Brewers made the trade with Corbin Burns, I looked at it and said, well, they didn't get enough, initially. Now you begin to undercover it a little bit, and you see this Hall, and boy, he does kind of remind you of a Hader a little bit, but they have visions of this guy being in the starting rotation. Just some of the stuff that he throws, he looks like to be the real deal. I would say so far that's one of the surprises, and I know you're looking for a positive, but I'm telling you, one down thing is though, Wade Miley, who is targeted for that number 2 starting spot in that rotation, Bill, not having him in this rotation for opening day or that first part of the season might be is a big loss because they need him.
Right.
They definitely need him because the pitching going into last season, it was a big deal. The pitching was great, but the pitching not so much this year. So they need a guy like that in the rotation. And it sounds like he's going to miss maybe a week or two to start the season.
Yeah, and one of the if that's all he misses this year, and then he can come back and be the work dog, that's great. You worry about his reliability because two years ago with the Cubs, he had the same thing. He started to pitch pretty well. He was very steady, and then he ends up going down with injury. We've seen it happen here, and now already you're starting off this year a couple of weeks behind in that aspect. So that's a guy they're counting on. I agree with you. Now, here's my next question. Is anybody else that they've thrown, who else would they be looking at? You know what I mean? Are they going to be looking at somebody else to fill the bill in that rotation that could possibly work themselves into a longer-term starting situation? Or is this just going to be, much like we've seen before when the Brewers lose a starting pitcher, kind of pitching by committee?
Well, one of those things. There's 7 or 8 guys vying for 5 spots in this rotation. Maybe they go with a 6-man, but five spots in this rotation right now. So I think that moves everybody pretty much up a notch in that rotation. Some rumblings, will the Brewers go out there and get themselves somebody on this who's out there? I don't think that's the case. I just think everybody moves up a notch in this rotation, and that's how they'll work things. That's the Brewers' way of doing things.
Offensively speaking, anybody standing out to you? It isn't like guys have a lot of at-bats. Jackson Churio is the only guy that's had more than 15 at-bats. He's got, 20 of them, I think. I think there's a couple of guys. I take that back. Like Sal Frelick's had 15 or 12 or 15 or 17 or 18 at-bats. Same with Joey Weimer. And Joey Weimer's still struggling. I think he's got the second most at-bats on the team so far, and I think he's still batting under 200.
Yeah, and he's getting a lot of at-bats because he needs a lot of at-bats out there, Bill, because, you look at what he did last year and his batting stance and everything was all off. But, you look at the averages, there's nobody really hitting well down there. There isn't, there's good small sample sizes. Most of these guys are 15 to 20 at-bats, but You look at Garrett Mitchell, he's batting 267. Thomas 267. Freelick 294. Tyler Black 235. Weimers, you're talking 167. So, yeah, nobody offensively is tearing it up down here, Bill.
Right. Yeah. I Montesario's the only guy, and he's only got like 8 at bats. I mean, if you start to roll through the averages or something like that, but then you look at it, he's like, he's got 8 at bats, I mean, but it's still early. I mean, you get this weekend. I've always looked at it like this. You get this weekend, you get more than a few games under your belt after, yesterday's off day. And then it's like the mid portion of next week into that following week before you start getting ready to really kind of turn to come home. It starts to become the doldrums of spring training, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And it seems like, they did reduce the number of games a couple of seasons ago, but there's still a lot of ball to be played down there that guys don't want to be doing at this point, but they're doing it anyway. Yelich has only had a couple of bats. Same with Rhys Hoskins. He's walked a few times in his plate appearances. So there's just so much ball to be played, so much meaningless ball to be played down there. It'd be great if they would even but these guys want to go down there and get their work in and I get that and all that, but man, 6 weeks of games, it just seems like an awful lot for spring training.
Right. No doubt. So give me your thoughts on how Pat Murphy's kind of handled things so far as well.
I like him kind of old school, Bill. Kind of old school, but I don't look at him as a guy who's going to look for the 3-run home run. Some of these old managers will just like to sit back and let's hit the 3-run home run. We might see some more ABC baseball. Get them on, get them over, get them in. That kind of baseball that seems to suit what they want to do. Now, they might be running a little bit more on the base pass. They might be doing that sort of thing, but I don't, I'm not going to lead the league in stolen bases, but they could be running a little bit. But the biggest thing I want to see them do is move guys over, especially when you get a guy on second base. You get a guy on second base with nobody out, you got to move, especially late in the game, you got to move that guy to third. And we'll see if Murphy does more of that. Council and many other managers reluctant to move runners over to third base in a close game late in a ball game. And we'll see if Murphy does that. That's one thing I just disdain when we under Council, they would just not move that runner over to third base with less than 2 outs.
Here's the next question. How does Ricky Weeks fit into all of this? I mean, what is he I mean, because he's in essence, he was, hired as the bench coach. He was brought back as a bench coach and maybe even being groomed to be the manager one day. But how has he been?
Well, he's been doing a little bit of everything down here. His title is associate manager. And so immediately you think, okay, does that mean that as soon as that Pat Murphy gets off to a slow start, Ricky Weeks is going to take over? But he's doing, he called it the other day, a jack of all trades. He's just like another set of eyes for the manager as well. Going out there, he's been hitting hitting some ground balls to the infield, doing a bunch of different things. He doesn't have a lot of experience in doing this right now. There's not a lot of experience, so he's kind of learning on the fly what all is done. Sure, he's got experience as a ball player, but on the other end, as far as being a coach, he's still trying to learn that. He's got a long ways to go, I believe in that matter. Although today in the managerial world, a lot of these guys are getting jobs with no managerial experience. The days of becoming a third base coach or a pitching coach and working your way up, sometimes you're just instantly becoming the manager. But he's doing a lot of different things, and he needs to do a lot of different things because he needs to the experience and knowledge he has of the game has to be cultivated now as a coach.
Any good stories coming out of spring training? It used to be, all the behind the scenes stuff, and you'd see jokes and guys filling hats of shaving cream and all the kind of wildness at night and all that kind of stuff. You don't see a lot of that anymore, do you?
What I've noticed about spring training is it used to be this. Guys would get there early and leave late, and they would be there all day long.
Right.
Now these guys are done. They get their work in and they get out. And when there's an off day for this team, it's like gold. There's nobody around the facility. There was a time when on off days you'd see guys come in and still get some batting practice in, get some work in if there was no game. These guys are gone. It's vacant. Game over. They're done. They're not needed anymore. And I get it. It's a long season. I know it's 7 days a week during the season, but yeah, these guys don't hang around as much as they used to.
Yeah, guys, and I agree with you. Guys used to sit there and have a couple of beers, and they'd sit and talk for a while. They'd get some food, then they'd get back. They'd either head back out to the field and throw the ball around, or it was just a BS session, or they were going down the street and heading to a bar. And once, like you said, and those were the guys that loved the camaraderie. Not to say these guys don't, but they would eat it, breathe it, sleep it. Baseball was baseball. They all wanted the money. Don't get me wrong, but they just loved being around it. It's like the guys today. They want to get in. This is a business. This is I can't explain it. It's just different, isn't it?
Well, and I remember back in the days. If we want to go back to clock of these, those '80s Brewers teams. Back then I was working for AP as well. So you don't always have to go visit. You'd always go to the visiting locker room first because, those guys had to catch a bus and a plane and they had to get out of there because you knew the home team locker room, those guys were going to stick around forever. So you went to the visiting team locker room, did your interviews there. Then you went back over to the Brewers locker room. And sure enough, some of those guys, 45 minutes later hadn't even taken a shower yet or in front of their locker playing cards, drinking beer. Meanwhile, all their families were waiting outside, outside of County Stadium or outside of Miller Park doing their thing, waiting out by the cars. And these guys are just taking their old sweet time in the locker room, playing cards, eating pizza, whatever. But nowadays, man, you better get in and catch these guys because they're out of there.
Right. They don't stick around anymore. I agree with you. Chuck, have a good time. Say hi to Grant Bills and make sure you got some bail money on you just in case. And then we'll touch base with you again real soon, okay?
I will do that. Have yourself a good weekend, Bill.
All right, bud. Talk to you soon. There you go. That's our guy, Chuck Freeman, on the phone down there in Maryvale. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to head back down to Maryvale. We'll talk to Grant Bills, who's down there as well, and Grant will check in with us for the final, kind of like Mike Clemens does. He'll check in with the final 3 segments of the program as well. By the way, coming up tomorrow on the program, I got to make sure, but I think our buddy Brian Billick, the Super Bowl 35 winning head coach for the Baltimore Ravens, is going to join us tomorrow and talk a little bit more about the combine and franchise tags and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into some discussions with him as well, but good stuff from our buddy Chuck Freeman down there in Maryvale, Arizona. So great to talk to him and talk a little baseball. And, look, unless there's some deeply burning question, right now it's just overview stuff. Most pitchers don't have more than 3 innings in them. Most batters don't have more than 15, 20 at-bats in them yet. You haven't really determined any patterns. Maybe guys are off to a fast start, off to a slow start, whatever. Maybe they look kind of good, but you got a mishmash going on over at third base with guys trying to, implement themselves as the starting third baseman for this team. Beyond that, everything, again, this is the Packers coming up regarding the draft, regarding free agency and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, I did see that the Buccaneers put the franchise tag on Antoine Winfield, so that safety is no longer on the market for those that were hoping for the Packers to possibly pick him up in free agency and bring him in as the starting safety for the Packers. So he was franchise tagged today by the Buccaneers. But there's no drama right now. No drama right now regarding the Packers. So there's no drama right now regarding the Brewers. Manager was seamless. Pat Murphy was the guy right away, and there's nothing else going on. There's no major injuries. There's nothing. It's just, can these guys duplicate, replicate, expound upon what they did last year, these young guys, and can the veterans play to veteran form? That's it. There's really nothing else. It's kind of like, it's a weird time in Wisconsin sports history. You got Doc Rivers that seemingly has put the train back on the tracks for the Milwaukee Bucks. You've got the Badgers, maybe a little bit of drama there because they're just trying to hang on and get themselves into the tournament, currently listed as a 7 seed in a bubble team. Marquette, they're going to be in the tournament. We all know that. Tyler's not going to be playing for the last couple of games of the year with the oblique strain, but beyond that, they should be good. So you got UW Green Bay. Their head coach was just named the coach of the year, which is fantastic in the Horizon League, and deservedly so. But nothing. There's no major drama going on right now. It's kind of weird. We're all playing pretty well. We're kind of quiet right now in the state of Wisconsin. Maybe that's the way it should be. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
0% interest for up to 3 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Pella's free in-home consultations make replacing or redesigning your windows and doors easy. We go beyond just measuring and handing you a quote. We take the time to listen and educate you on all your product options. And with DesignWorks, you can see what your home will look like before you buy. Whether you're looking to replace your windows due to damage or it's time for a refresh and you'd like to revitalize your home style, choosing from Pella's wide range of windows and doors will complement your home's unique design. Pella can also customize, providing nearly endless possibilities for maximum design flexibility with dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Order by March 31st to get 0% interest for up to 3 years. Set your free consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Hey, our friends over at the Four Seasons Island Resort, they got a lot of stuff coming up. And it's a terrific place. It's really weird because usually this is the time of the year that we kind of head up that direction. But we just haven't been able to get up there. We've had so much going on and just haven't been able to do it. But they have got a lot of stuff happening coming up here towards the mid portion of the month. They've got the Bridal Expo. So, guys, if you are getting married and the fiance says she's looking for Bridal Expo stuff and places to get married and up north and all that kind of good stuff, there you go. They have the March kind of the calendar out. They've got the Wine and Cheese Fest coming up at the end of the month. That's March 30th. And that's limited to 75 people. That'll sell out. And the Wine and Cheese Fest always does. It's really cool if you've never been there. The Easter Buffet on March 31st. April 5th is their spring wine dinner. So you get to go to the Brewers game, during the April 2nd. You come down and enjoy our program. And then after that, for the weekend, you head up to the spring wine dinner. And then you've got on May 3rd, well, you've got the tequila dinner. And that might be more in the party animal side of things, but the tequila dinner is also something that they started doing, and that's been a wild success as well. But a lot of good stuff, whether it's just the history of the place or the fact that you can go up there and kind of disconnect and unwind a little bit, or you just go up and enjoy the scenery, hang out on the island. Maybe you go into the town of Iron Mountain. Whatever it may be. Just so many cool things up there at the Four Seasons Island Resort. Get a hold of our girl, Barb, 715-938-5110, 715-938-5110. That's the Four Seasons Island Resort up in Pembine, Wisconsin. And just use the promo code Michaels15. You get 15% off your stay because you mentioned you heard it here. Again, call Barb, 715-938-5110, 715-938-5110 at the Four Seasons Island Resort in Pembine, Wisconsin. Oh, by the way, the Ryan says, I went to Cousins today and ordered the Bill Michaels. Pepperoni melt, extra cheese, extra mayo. Did you really? We haven't done that in a while. It's funny you mentioned that. It was just like 3 weeks ago, we had gotten back from Vegas and there was nothing going on. And Kristen and I said, let's go get a pepperoni melt the Bill Michaels way. And I hadn't had it in a while. I love those things. So we got to get Cousins back on as a sponsor. Got to do that. Got to do that for sure. So anyway, that's great. So thank you for going in and at least spreading the word. Do that every damn day. That's awesome. Brett says, would you bring back John Runyon? He switched agents. He went over to Drew Rosenhaus. If I get the same level of player coming out of college now that I would be paying him extra money to perform the same, no. I mean, I know he wants to be here. And Drew Rosenhaus does have clients that the Packers have worked with before, specifically Aaron Jones. But I think they are looking at that like John's good, maybe a little above average. But if we can get the same player in the draft, then no, we're not going to pay a guy more money to do the same job as we can get a guy that can do it for the next 4 years under a rookie contract. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they'll do that. What I'd love to see him do is get two big tackles. Move Zach Tom either into center with Sean Ryan at guard, Elton Jenkins at guard, and have two big tackles. Then your line is solidified for a long time. Stay tuned. We got another hour yet to go. Coming up here about 15 minutes, we're going to go back out to Maryvale, Arizona, where Grant Bills is standing by. We'll talk to him. Stick around. Some Brewers chatter and anything else that comes up. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Bucs kept their post-All-Star game run going last night with a win over the Clippers. They have now won 6 straight games, their second longest winning streak of the season, but they will certainly be tested in the coming weeks as they hit the road for a 4-game trip to the West Coast with matchups against Golden State, the Lakers, Clippers, and Sacramento on the docket. Coach Doc Rivers was asked whether the trip would serve as a test as to where the team is.
Yeah, I'm not a big test guy. I really am not, because you don't know where your team's at. You go on a West Coast trip and everybody's healthy and feeling good. You go sweep it, and then you go get your butt kicked the next 5 games. So I don't ever evaluate that way. I've never done that. It'd be nice to win them all and come back and say, man, we're doing great. But it still doesn't matter, if you know what I'm saying. So I just look at us being better each night.
Rivers was not sure if they'd have Giannis Antetokounmpo or Chris Middleton when they face Golden State tomorrow. Giannis missed last night's game with Achilles tendonitis. Middleton's still out with an ankle sprain. Turning to the Badgers, they're back at practice today, looking to find some answers to their late season slide. They've lost 7 of 9, very much in danger of not getting a first-round bye in the conference tournament next week. They will close out their home schedule on Thursday against Rutgers.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, Wisconsin landed its 8th commitment in their 2025 recruiting class last night with New Jersey linebacker Samuel Leteju. The 3-star recruit chose the Badgers over Boston College, Pitt, Maryland, and others. And the Brewers back in action today out in spring training as they take on the Giants in Arizona. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Welcome back in, and final hour of the Bill Michaels Show on this Tuesday. Cooler Tuesday, but the sun's out. Not a bad day today. Good stuff. Got an email here, and I wanted to catch up on a couple of these. This is from Mark. Mark says, what free agents out there would you pick up to come into the secondary for the Green Bay Packers? Well, Winfield was the guy that a lot of people were talking about, and I kind of had the sense that they may not let him go, him or Mike Evans down there in Tampa Bay. Or I didn't know where Tampa Bay was going to use their franchise tag, to be quite honest with you, and they used it on Winfield today, so he's pretty much out, which now they got to come to a contract agreement with Baker Mayfield, and the legal tampering period is coming upon us relatively soon, so you're going to hear about a lot of teams making deals with a lot of players. Evans possibly being one of them, Baker Mayfield being another one. You've got Kirk Cousins on the open market. Russell Wilson's going to be on the open market. So you're going to wait for those chips to fall. And then whoever is on the outside looking in will probably delve into depending on what they want to do as far as trade capital goes, what they're going to do for Justin Fields. And if Justin Fields is going to be any kind of a hot commodity as well. It's like what needs to shake out for everything to start to fall? What is everybody waiting for when it comes to the NFL market, if you will? What needs to happen first? And that's probably a really good question. I don't know because the Justin Fields thing is the most popular topic of conversation because of Caleb Williams and the implications there. But now, I don't know if you saw this, Ebo, but did you see today that there are teams that quote rumored executives that would take Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams? And it's due in part because of Caleb Williams and some of the questionable decisions that he has made regarding not, letting everybody talk to him, not letting the physicals happen, not wanting to do a workout for anybody in particular, and his father and the problematic side of things as far as his representation goes. Which that's kind of one of those things we said all. But then again, are people saying we wouldn't take him, thinking that maybe the Bears, would hang on to Justin Fields, or I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just driving up the stock price of Jaden Daniels. A lot of misinformation this time of year. But would you take Caleb Williams?
Would I take Caleb Williams, Bill?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You had the draft guy on last week. He's head and shoulders better than any other quarterback in this draft. Is he unlikable? Does he have the weird diva to him? Yeah, but I also think that kind of makes him who he is. And he loves Aaron Rodgers, compares himself to Aaron Rodgers. And if you get a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, I would take it. I want the Bears to take him because I want the Bears. Here's what's going to happen, Bill. The Bears will fail him. and then they'll go so stinking. The Bears will still suck, and then he'll go elsewhere and maybe be good. But the Bears, we know what they're going to do. They're just going to destroy another quarterback's career. So I want the Bears to draft them.
Yeah,
I would take him though. I think he is that good.
Yeah, the talent's undeniable.
But he is such a he seems like a head case in the making.
Yeah, he is far more. Now remember, when Ryan Leaf came out of Washington State, and I look at guys that were really, really, really talented college quarterbacks. And I'm not talking about the Rick Myers of the world that came out of Notre Dame, and I never thought he was really head and shoulders. I mean, they kept comparing him to Joe Montana because Joe Montana came out of Notre Dame, but Rick Myers, he was never going to be that guy. But Ryan Leaf was really, really talented. He was just an idiot. And I think Caleb Williams is way more talented than Ryan Leaf. But Leaf was the guy that everybody, because he had a big arm and the whole thing, and whether it was him or Manning, and that was kind of what the discussion was at the time. And, obviously Manning went on to, have a historical career. Meanwhile, Ryan Leaf's a moron. Played 3 years and that was it. But I keep kind of comparing. Now, I don't think Caleb Williams is going to play 3 years and he's going to be done, because you're going to have way too much invested in him. But look at like a guy like Trubisky that they jumped up for. Look for a guy like Caleb Williams. Does he then become the 10-cent head that his physical ability, once he gets to the NFL, it's not going to carry him as far. And he doesn't have the mental wherewithal to be able to withstand the criticism, the guys, so to speak. And guys figure you out quick in the NFL. Your offensive players, they figure you out quick. If you're a leader, if you're doing everything you can to get better and you're putting your heart and soul into it, they'll look at you and go, okay, that's a guy that I can get behind. Much like the Packers did, led by Aaron Jones behind Jordan Love and a lot of the young guys. They're like, look, this guy's paying his dues, man. He's doing everything he can. And they really bought into what he was selling. If Caleb Williams comes in, already have made $12 million, already has this high opinion of himself, calling himself in some regards in comparison to Aaron Rodgers, and all of a sudden he can't do it. And because look at what happened to him last year at USC when things got tough, Lincoln Riley wouldn't let anybody talk to him because he didn't want him to have to answer the question. But because we all know he was too fragile to answer the questions without getting upset and emotional. And do you really want that guy in your locker room? Guys will figure you out real quick. I just keep wondering if Caleb Williams is going to be this unbelievable talent that's going to set the world on fire, or he's going to be just another arrogant D-bag with a ton of talent that's going to let his head get too big and he's going to fall by the wayside because he doesn't have the ability to humble himself. Because we've seen a lot of that. If you had to put money on it, is Caleb Williams going to be around 6 years in the NFL?
I mean, the average lifespan is what, 3.5 years, but he's going to be the number one pick. He's going to have money. Someone will probably give him a second chance if he does kind of stink, if it is with the Bears, because we know what the Bears do and destroy quarterbacks. Man, over under at 6 years. Yeah. I think that'd be it. That'd be it.
What do you think the over and under would be? Would you put money on him or the field for rookie of the year? Because if he goes to Chicago, he's going to play.
The field.
I would too.
Because you're in Chicago, you're doomed if you go to Chicago. I mean, you're already at a bad roster. There's a lot of work in progress. Eberflus' defensive mind. I'd do the field.
Yeah, I would too. I'd take the field. There's no way I could. No, as much talent as he has, I just don't think I could put any money down on Caleb Williams. Just don't think I could do it. Completely agree. This was from Kevin. Kevin says, I think you're off base on Caleb Williams. If you watch what he did over at Oklahoma, he was an absolutely phenomenal player. He just didn't have the talent around him. Well, Kevin, let me stop you there. Okay, so look at C.J. Stroud going into Houston this year. Did he have a high level of talent around him? Answer me that question. Because nobody gave Houston a shot at anything, right? Nobody did. Houston was going to be in this massive rebuild. They weren't even supposed to be relevant for a while. Now, granted, they had Nico Collins, but beyond that, did anybody give them a legitimate shot? I don't think so. I don't think anybody looked at him and went, oh my God, that's going to be an unbelievable team with Robert Woods and Tank Dell, who they picked up, Tank Dell played really well. They made a nice choice there. But you didn't know. You didn't know what they were going to have. They had John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson and Noah Brown, and nobody knew. And look what he did. Look what C.J. Stroud did. I just gave you Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, who they picked up from Tennessee, Noah Brown, who was unrestricted from Dallas, John Mechie, who they picked up in 2022, and Xavier Hutchinson, who they drafted 6th round this past year. Do any of those names strike fear into you? That's not saying like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill. You're not throwing those names out. Tank Dell played pretty well. Beyond it, look at what C.J. Stroud did. So if Caleb Williams goes to the Bears with what the Bears have, and they've tried to bolster their offensive line, and they've done a decent job at trying to do so. It's not great, but at least it's better than what it was. But if he goes to the Bears and he's got DJ Moore and Tyler Scott and, Equinemius St. Brown or Darnell Mooney, and, does that team become better because Caleb Jones is there? Are they suddenly setting the world on fire? They did pick up Darnell Wright, and finally they've got a big right tackle that can anchor that offensive line on that side of the ball. And Braxton Jones is still solid, but do they have anybody? I don't think so. I don't think so. Khalil Herbert running the ball, I think Caleb Williams would have about the same capability and personnel around him as what C.J. Stroud did. And C.J. Stroud won Rookie of the Year. He lit it up and put his team into the postseason, for that matter. Can Caleb Williams turn around the Chicago Bears in a season and put them in the postseason? I don't think so. I think that's a tall order, man. That would be a tall order for him to be able to do that. Don't think it happens that way. 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. This is from Jones. Jonesy says, "Hey, Unit, I like this Brewers baseball team. Even though they're getting off to a slow start in spring training, I still believe they're going to be fine come opening day. It takes a team of a lot of newbies a little while to get going. I don't necessarily say they're going to play well in April, but May, June, and when they heat up in July, things will get going for real." That's from Jonesy. Jonesy, appreciate the email. I'm not, again, if I put money on it, I'm saying 85 wins. And if I have a plus or minus of 1 or 2, I'll take it. Take it there. That's probably a fair area to start. Not concerned about that yet. Spring training. Just be happy that you got baseball back on the radio. You got a little bit of TV baseball and live stream baseball that you can watch and pay attention to. And I'm just looking forward to warmer weather. And once all of that happens, I'm giddy. The one cool thing is this year is I'm looking forward to more games for the fact that Kristen, her job, one of the things that she will do is they host a lot of clients in their suite. Not that I get to go, but rather than doing something else on those nights or meetings or things that we have to do together, we'll be at the ballpark. I'll be able to go cover a lot more games this year. I'm looking forward to that. I'm giddy about seeing more baseball games. Hell yes. Giddy about it. 877-867-1670. Coming up next, we got our guy, Grant Bills. Speaking of baseball, he is on the ground out in Maryvale, Arizona. We will chat with him when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Stay right where you're at. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Hey, hungry? And your heart is ticking for chicken? Well, take a quick turn into Quick Trip because we got
no ordinary chicken.
Yeah, go wild with wings. Next level super wings with trusty sidekick and sauces. Or let's talk tender. Quick Chick tenders. Love me tenders. Love me some Quick tenders. Ours are bigger, better, tastier. Or if you're feeling good old school comfort fried chicken, we got it. Hand breaded down homier than anywhere. Quick Trip, saving your nuggets from ordinary.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. Good to have you on board today. Sunny day, a little bit cooler today, and it's not going to get much warmer over the next week, but nevertheless, it's still above normal for us. I'll take it any damn day of the week, and it's better weather out in Arizona where we find our own Grant Bills out there. Grant, what's going on, man?
Bill, I'm still working on getting Grant.
Uh-oh.
I think his call just dropped. One second.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Uh-oh. Grant fell off. There you go. Grant's trying to connect up, doing the, I don't know if he's doing the actual remote box thing down there, if the phone call or whatever it happens to be, but nevertheless. So, but they did have some roster moves today. So we'll talk a little bit about that, as Chuck alluded to a little while ago. And then we'll all some of the things that he heard as far as managing the rotation and from Pat Murphy today, and some of the things that he wants to see out of this group. And so we'll get into all of that discussion coming up here momentarily. So we'll get Grant coming up here shortly. I think he said quarter after, so we'll touch base with him. This is from Kevin. Kevin says, hey, unit, with no drama around the Green Bay Packers, we as Packers fans can sit back, relax, and breathe a little. Just let the draft come to us, and we're all going to eat pizza and wings, and we're going to have a good time and drink a lot of beer. And then when training camp begins, we will have our expectations as Super Bowl or bust, ? Or do we think it's one more year until this team is ready to go? That's from Kevin. Kevin, by the way, listening to us in the Northwoods. First of all, the eating wings and beer and pizza, I'm good with that. So we'll be just fine. The other side of that, as far as no drama, I don't know about let the draft board completely fall to you, but yeah, that's been my philosophy. Unless there's somebody you really want to jump up and get, don't worry about it. Because the one thing that I can say, and we talked with this about this with Mike Clemens on Monday, was because Mike had asked us when we had played back Goody's presser what we thought, and what we think is, and what I hear is, Brian Gutekunst is pretty confident because they really haven't had a changeover as far as their scouting department goes, at least not much. Everybody's pretty much in place. Everybody's comfortable. They know what they're looking for. They know what they're doing. And the last couple of drafts specifically have been really good. They've refortified this team, which is what's given this team a little bit of an energy boost and a talent boost. And so I don't know if I'm sitting here wearing the "In Goody We Trust" shirt, but I feel pretty good about the draft and develop department of the Green Bay Packers. It seems like it was a little off the track for a while, and it seems like they've put it back on, and they've been good. So, if you get a couple of defensive backs, say a tackle, running back, couple of, one or two running backs, a wide receiver, another tight end, I'm good with all of that. You got 11 picks. You can do a lot of things with 11 picks. If you get a wide receiver or two running backs, you still have 7 picks. You get a tackle or maybe another versatile offensive lineman, you still have 4 picks. You can all dedicate it to the secondary of this team. And that's not including what you can do via free agency. So, and I think the Packers may not be on the big money on day 1, but day 2, 3, and 4, I think that they're not going to shy away from anymore. And I don't think you have to wait to watch all these other names come off the board that could possibly help your team because you're pressed up against it salary cap wise. I would be disappointed to follow that up. And this is from Gary's question. Would you be disappointed if the Packers didn't spend any big money in the first round of free agency? I wouldn't be disappointed if they didn't spend money in the first round, but that mid-level where they've always waited it out, and sometimes you get the bargain. You get the Preston Smith and the Zadarius Smith and Devondre Campbell to come in and play good for a year or two. But if they're not in on that next level, then I'd be a little disappointed. If they have somebody out there that could really help this team, then I'd be a little disappointed. But for the most part, no, I'm good with that. To answer your question, both Kevin and Gary, I'm good with that. 877-867-1670. Jay says, hey, unit, listen to the program every day. He is, by the way, listening to us up in Elkhart Lake. Looking forward to your broadcast up here for the Indy cars. Are you going to do anything before that? He says, as a Packers fan, I think, yes, it's Super Bowl or bust. It must be each and every year. This team has set a franchise standard that can't be lowered just because you have a lot of young guys. They have to come in and perform to that standard. Don't teach the young guys to perform to less than that standard. That is from Jay. That's kind of old school, Jay. I think you have a standard, absolutely, but I also think that you have to be realistic. If guys, like last year, nobody saw that team. If they made the postseason, when we saw, early on, they were winning a few ball games and such before they, lost to Denver, lost to Oakland, or lost to Las Vegas, and they kind of started to circle the drain a little bit before picking themselves up and kind of turning it back around. But I don't think anybody saw this team doing what they did to Dallas. I don't think anybody saw this team on the verge of actually beating the 49ers in San Francisco. They gave the San Francisco 49ers a run for their money. And I don't think anybody saw this team winning like that on Thanksgiving Day, beating Kansas City the way they did. I don't think anybody saw that. So the standard's going to be higher this year, but I think you look at things on a realistic light and then you say, okay, but if they get better, the only thing you do when you get better is raise the level of expectation. So I'm not saying because it's a young team, it's not Super Bowl. And the reason you can also say that about the NFC is not that strong, right? You have, obviously, the defending NFC champion in San Francisco, who is going to start running into a lot of salary cap issues here very soon. Okay, you got that. Then you got Detroit, no doubt. Dallas is still in the mix, but I think Dallas is on the verge, man. They're either going to take that next step or this thing. If they have another year where and this is the other thing, nobody has back-to-back years in a long time won that division. Will Dallas be as good? Will Philly be as bad and circle the drain the way they did in the last 6-7 games of the season? Will somebody else rise up? Will Washington, I don't think so, but will Washington catch fire or something to that extent? I don't think so, but you never know. Weirder things have happened, right? So does Dallas repeat? for the first time in a long time? Or do the Giants get Daniel Jones back and he actually lives up to expectations? You know? So I think Dallas will repeat. But Dallas, to me, is on the verge. Dallas, to me, is they're going to win. They're going to win their division. They're going to get a home playoff game. Then what? Then what? Because if they lose in the same fashion again, I think this thing implodes. Just implodes. Especially if Dak Prescott throws a couple of picks and doesn't play well against an up-and-coming team like the Packers, all that kind of stuff. I think it will implode. I think you're going to see a team turn on Dak. I think you're going to see Jerry probably turn on Mike. I think they're going to see it all start over. So I look for this thing to implode. 877-867-1670. And then this is from Dwayne, who says, have you been watching ESPN at all today? They're doing a behind the scenes on this fansaholic from the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what? Are you talking about the Wolf dude that went to prison because he was robbing banks to fortify his lifestyle as a Chiefs fan? I did see something that they're doing that, but I haven't paid much attention to it, to be honest with you. I haven't done a whole lot on that. Haven't paid attention. Have you paid attention to that, Grant? Because that guy, he was robbing banks and everything to be able to, afford to have himself go all over the country to follow the Kansas City Chiefs dressed up as that crazy werewolf.
I think he robbed, was it 11 banks?
Yeah.
Had like $800,000. And I think he was like doing a lot of gambling too.
Yeah.
He got busted.
Yeah.
Did you hear his lawyer last week? Did you hear his lawyer?
Oh, was that not an epic speech?
He peppered in analogies to football.
Football references, yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I heard that I think they played it on the NFL Network when they were doing something on that. Or it was like Good Morning America.
I'm like, dude, if your lawyer is peppering football analogies, you're going for the max time. You're getting the whole 50 years, dude.
That's amazing. And now he's still behind bars, right?
Yeah, I mean, he pled guilty. Yeah,
yeah, he's going away for a long time.
His sentencing is sooner than later.
Yeah, he is not he's not getting out anytime soon.
Do you want to hear it? I have it. If you want to hear it,
do you really? So the attorney.
Yeah, I just found it. I got
this is the attorney for the guy that would dress as a werewolf as the Chiefsaholic, and the guy that got busted robbing all the banks and ended up pleading guilty. Here's his attorney. Take a listen to this.
And this is on
it's
the steps of the courthouse. Steps of the courthouse.
From the beginning of this case, folks, the government has been blitzing, and Xavier's pocket was collapsing. But today, Xavier stepped into the pressure. He took responsibility for his actions. He stood up in court, humble and repentant.
Humble and repentant.
Oh, I don't know what happened here.
Cut out.
1 second, Bill. Here, I got to reload it. Here you go.
Okay.
And admitted what he had done. Now, if I know anything about Xavier, and if the Chiefs Kingdom knows anything about Chiefsaholic, we know that he doesn't give up. We know that if he stumbled and he fell, he didn't let his knee touch the ground.
Oh, my God.
And that's because he's capable of doing a great thing. And he knows that there's still hope. We still have a lot of work to do on his case, but Xavier wants everyone to know that he loves the Chiefs Kingdom, he loves Kansas City, and he hopes that you'll rally to his support. Thank you and God bless.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That's still epic. It's just dropping in all the footballisms is awesome right there. And he stepped up and he took responsibility. It's like, wow. Just. And then what he didn't say is, oh, by the way, he robbed a lot of banks and he had a gambling addiction. And he was a Chiefs fan. It's like he's trying to rally Chiefs fans to say, man, let him go. Let him go, But no, he stole a ton of money. He's He's going to be the piñata in the single gender dance every year in the prison. So there you go. Let's do this. We're gonna take a quick break. And by the way, no, I wasn't watching it. I did flip over to ESPN while I was playing, and I see that there's something on about it, but I didn't watch it. So thank you very much. We're going to break. We're going to come back. We got a whole lot more coming up right after this. Stay tuned.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
0% interest for up to 3 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Pella's free in-home consultations make replacing or redesigning your windows and doors easy. We go beyond just measuring and handing you a quote. We take the time to listen and educate you on all your product options. And with DesignWorks, you can see what your home will look like before you buy. Whether you're looking to replace your windows due to damage or it's time for a refresh and you'd like to revitalize your home style, choosing from Pella's wide range of windows and doors will complement your home's unique design. Pella can also customize, providing nearly endless possibilities for maximum design flexibility with dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more. Order by March 31st to get 0% interest for up to 3 years. Set your free consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Talking baseball, Molitor and Yount, Brewer baseball. Thomas hits him out.
Ah, the sounds of summer. Looking forward to it. You got Brewers baseball taking place. They're back at it today. They were off yesterday down in Maryvale, Arizona. And joining us now, which is kind of an oddity. He's never joined us on the hotline because he's always been in studio. But Grant Bill's out in Arizona, Maryvale to be exact. Grant, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing great, Bill. I feel a little bad leaving you and Evo high and dry. I normally am in the studio, but then I look out the windows of this booth.
Yeah, the hell with that.
Okay, there's a baseball field and palm trees and mountains. I'm like, okay, well, it's a good reason to at least leave Bill and Evo.
Now, is that your first time in Maryvale?
Last year was my first time here covering the team. So
Okay.
This is the second year I've done this. I've been down here a couple times with my parents and with my siblings. My grandma's lived down here forever, so, come visit every once in a while. It's a beautiful park, and it's only gotten better the last couple of years. This is, if not the best complex in the Cactus League, it's very, very close.
It's because each they've obviously Talking Stick has gotten big. There's Camelback, which is huge. They built that new complex obviously for the Cubs, for the Reds and the Indians out in Goodyear, Arizona. Surprise, Arizona is really cool, but I still think some of the best views. The Cubs Stadium is phenomenal. Talking Stick is phenomenal, but the Brewers, at least you got the mountains and the way off in the center field area, in the outfield area to look at, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and just the complex as a whole. You can walk end to end in less than 10 minutes.
Yes.
It's really well designed. Getting from the strength and conditioning center, the doors slide wide open out onto the practice field. It's just a really cool place to come and watch and absorb baseball. And I think it's such a good spot for these players. I think it's a big plus when the Brewers are looking to bring players here. This complex and what they've added the last few years is a huge selling point for the franchise. And it's a great place to just be here for a week to celebrate and to take in baseball, which is what I'm trying to do.
Yep, no doubt. So what are the things lingering around out there right now that you can say ear to the ground you've heard or seen for that matter?
It's a lot busier. Yeah, it's a lot busier this year than last year, because last year the World Baseball Classic was going on, which was really cool. That was really, really cool in the baseball world and for baseball fans, and to talk about in the clubhouse. But Devin Williams wasn't here. Rowdy Tellez wasn't here. Willie Adames was playing for the Dominican Republic as well. So now it's a little bit more full. This morning, interacted with Wade Miley really briefly. He's throwing a bullpen session today. He's dealing with shoulder soreness. We're not 100% sure about his availability at the start of the year. Pat Murphy said to not count him out. Pat Murphy in his office today basically told us, actually Wade's age is an asset for him at this point because he knows his body. He's experienced this before. He knows what he needs to do to get right in a certain timetable if he wants to be ready for opening day. And for what it's worth, Wade Miley certainly didn't seem too stressed today. He came in and he was asking everybody, I'm throwing a bullpen. Do I need to put on a jersey? What do I have to do? After he threw on a jersey and got all tucked in and ready to go as he's walking out, he yelled, anything under 95 today and I quit. Right. So he's got a light heart and a sense of humor about all this. I'm not gathering too much concern about his injury, which is really good. And I heard that's something that you and Chuck were talking about. So that's hopefully an arm that's available pretty soon, if not for opening day, right after. And that's something that should make Brewers fans very happy.
Well, okay, so you got Wade Miley that's not going to be in that rotation. Do they have a gauge at all as to who may take that spot in the rotation?
Well, I think the first three spots that you can bank right now, setting Wade Miley aside, is Freddie, and the Brewers are and have been overly confident, really from the start of camp. I mean, they love Freddie and his trajectory now into the eighth. DL Hall is blowing everyone away. That's something else that I noticed in the clubhouse this morning. Like, this has been reported, going back weeks, but Chris Hook, their pitching coach, is not someone that throws superlatives around. He's a pretty laid back guy, pretty mild mannered, and he's beside himself describing the stuff that DL Hall has, right? Just the break on his pitches, the bite on his fastball. Now they got to work on his control, and, they'll get him in the pitching lab and probably tweak and work on pitch selection as well. But the raw pitch, the raw arm talent that he has everyone. Like this morning in the clubhouse, Trevor McGill and Hobie Milner are gathered around DL Hall's locker because they want to see his fastball grip. They're like, how the hell do you hold it? Like, right. I need to get a look at this. So no matter how the Brewers kind of mold and shape him as a starter, you can pretty confidently say at this moment in time, at least the plan is to have him in the starting rotation. Joe Ross, another one of those guys, and Freddie Peralta. Now, whether the other two starters are a healthy Wade Miley, maybe Aaron Ashby, Jacob Giannis, who's going to pitch today. They got a game this afternoon. Those are the other names. But I would say three names for sure. Wade Miley once he's healthy, and then that final spot could go to a couple different people, I suppose.
So let's talk a little Pat Murphy here real quick, because Pat Murphy, obviously, the new skipper, and he's got his own philosophy and such. And did he talk about the rotation and such at all to you guys today?
He talked about the rotation a little bit at the very end of our conversation. We had some transactions to talk about with Murphy this morning because the Brewers announced that they're sending 5 guys to minor league camp. They're reassigning, most notably, I think, for Brewers fans, Jacob Mizorowski and their young third baseman, Brock Wilken, who's had an awesome spring. He's fit right in here. He does not look like he's young, which he is, obviously. It's not the biggest deal in the world that they reassign those guys. They'll be around the complex. Murphy was explaining to us he meets with the minor league staff every day, so they're in tune with each other and what those guys are doing. It's more of a reorganization. And Chuck said this last hour when you guys were talking about it. Mizorowski and Wilken, one or both, there's a good chance that they'll get a cup of coffee in the majors at least this year, but it's not going to be right away. So once that is established, Mizorowski especially, you need to get them ready for their minor league season. Right. So you need to get them with their coaches and on their game plan and workout plan to be ready for the start of their minor league season. And then at some point when they're called up, right, if Mizorowski's going to come up as a reliever, they'll kind of change his workload a little bit, but he's got to be ready to be a starter at the minor league level. So that's something we talked about with Pat Murphy. But why don't we start? I sent a couple of bits of audio. I'm doing my best impression of Mike Clemens today.
Perfect.
We started Pat Murphy's conversation earlier today, asking kind of just generically, what do you want to see in the final 3 weeks of camp? Is it roster spots? Is it, camaraderie? What do you, Pat Murphy, want to see these final 3 weeks of camp?
What I want to see is them to kind of latch on to each other and latch on to kind of the way we want to compete, how we want to compete. And I think, the starting staff, for instance, is, very much inexperienced, or how do you want to term it? It's not the normal Brewers rotation over the last number of years. So just to have them all kind of step up and all realize, here's how we're going to have to do it. Here's how we're going to have to do it. And the position players the same way. Here's how we're going to have to compete.
So, Grant, when, Pat Murray, first of all, he's very subdued. I mean, he's just a very quiet dude. So I guess the biggest thing for Pat Murphy is when he talks about, who's going to step up. I mean, does he have anything specific? Because I know Craig Counsell never got into, well, this guy's throwing really well, this guy isn't. This is what Craig doesn't ever kind of lead you to believe what it is he's thinking, so to speak. But that's a very generic kind of statement. I guess it's early on in camp, too. Nobody's really kind of taken the reins and ran off with it because they don't have enough innings under their belt.
Well, yeah, and it is very generic, and you're correct. And as we talked more, and we dug kind of more into what he's looking for and wants to see in these final 3 weeks of camp, he started to discuss and highlight something that he's been saying from the very beginning, right? Ever since he got this job, something that you've heard him mention repeatedly and talk about a lot is that he wants his guys to trust each other and to play with ease, trust all the time. And, you hear that in football, you got to trust guys to block for each other and to do their job. It's not something you hear a whole lot in baseball, but it's something he's talked about a bunch, right? Trusting each other, playing with each other. Here's what Pat Murphy had to say about that. It's a little more specific.
Get used to trusting each other a little bit, because it does come down to trusting each other. Sometimes you get that 3-2 breaking ball in the dirt, and because you want to be the one to do it, instead of trusting the guy behind you to say, flip the bat to him, say, hey, your turn, because they wanted that. We got to get to that point. So kind of come together as a team. And I think that's what happens at the end of camp. Some of the riffraff you really have to deal with at that point is just you guys, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not many distractions then when you get towards the end. Early on, getting to know everybody, the meetings and all sorts of stuff going on. Yeah, I think we kind of hone it in.
Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up with Pat Murphy and some of his comments, and Grant Bill's live down in Maryvale Baseball Park, the home of the Milwaukee Brewers, the spring training home of the Milwaukee Brewers at American Family Fields of Phoenix. Stay tuned. We got more coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Final segment of the program before we get out of here today. Ebo pushing all the buttons, doing the best Grant Bills impersonation today. And Grant Bills out in Maryvale, Arizona at the American Family Fields of Phoenix and doing his kind of Mike Clemens baseball version of Mike Clemens' interpretation today. So Grant, we kind of left Pat Murphy talking about the pitching staff. You know, one of the other guys that I think last year really surprised a lot of people about just how good he was, not only behind the plate, but offensively, was Contreras. And they're really, really, really high on this guy.
Well, and I'll be 100% honest. I think I forget about Contreras sometimes too, Bill, on my show, because we're so obsessed with how the young outfielders are going to fit in, and can Bryce Terang take a step at second, and now Joey Ortiz is in town. Who's going to play first? Reese Hoskins is here, and of course, we're always going to talk about the pitching. I often forget this. Oh yeah, like they have probably a star in the making, William Contreras behind home plate, who did a little bit of everything offensively. He got to Milwaukee and instantly improved defensively as a catcher as well. And I don't want to speak in superlatives and praise him too much, but I mean, Pat Murphy wasn't worried about it. So we were in his office earlier today and were able to ask him some questions and was able to record some audio and make it a part of the show. And he said he loves Contreras. He loves his leadership. And he actually went as far to say is he's a budding star. Here's Pat Murphy.
He's a budding star. He wants to be out there every day. He has an energy that few have. He has a motor that few have. You know, I put him up against anyone as far as motors. You know, like this guy wants to go. He ain't. You talk about relentless. This guy, you're not getting him to back off.
So you got a good guy behind the plate, and Contreras, who seems like correct me if I'm wrong, but don't the majority of rotational guys really, really like him too in the way he catches?
Yeah, and just going around, like I was walking around the backfields after Murphy's meeting with the media today, and they're, taking infield ground ball practice. And Contreras is behind the plate. He's not padded up. He doesn't need to catch actual pitches. He just wants to be around. He's running around. He's vocal. So Pat Murphy is 100% correct in that he wants to be doing everything everywhere all the time. And all these guys in the rotation really, really like him. I know Caratini was kind of Corbin Burns' guy, and I think that was a good way to get Caratini in the lineup every once in a while. And a lot of teams do that. But this rotation, I think, is definitely going to be helped by Contreras. And we should know this, watching the Cardinals play against our Brewers forever with Yadier Molina, the impact that a catcher can have can be on the whole infield. It can be on the pitching staff. So lastly, here's a little Q&A that I had with Murphy about how he needs to manage this rotation, because you heard a couple minutes ago, he talked about this rotation is very different. It's built up very differently than the Brewers rotation the last couple of years, and that requires different management. So I asked him about that. Here's our back and forth.
Like, how do you manage this group differently than the rotation of the last couple of seasons?
Right. I think it's a give and take. I think that they have to be on the same page. They can't view themselves, hey, I'm the 2 starter, I'm the 3 starter, all that nonsense, like labeling. They just got to get outs, and maybe today's 12 outs. Maybe the next time's 15 outs. Maybe it's 21. Like, God, how did I get here? Maybe the next time's 9 outs. Everybody's worried about innings build up. How many innings did Joe Ross have? So how do you build up from 15 innings over the last 3 years? How do you build up DL Hall's innings? How do you build up Colin Ray, although we had pretty good evidence over in Asia, he had, good production, but it's like, it's going to be different.
More collected.
Yeah.
Part of a club.
And we got depth, a lot of depth, a lot of guys that are capable of that. So working how that's all going to work, getting guys up here. Yeah.
A lot more total number of guys to make a start for this Brewers team this summer, probably going to be a higher number.
Seems like it. Don't know for sure. Going in, we look at the bandwidth of guys that can do it, and they're all pretty close.
Interesting stuff. I mean, he doesn't really have. I mean, I like his approach. It's like whatever it takes to get the job done, we're going to do. But we've seen this rotation before where I know it frustrated a lot of people where Craig Counsell would just do however many innings he feels you should do. And if you're going to go the third time through the rotation, you're coming out, whether it's getting 12 outs or 2 outs or 10 outs or 21. I mean, whatever. So it does it seem to be philosophically the same way? Because it used to drive people crazy sometimes when Craig Counsell would go out and pull a guy his second time through his second time through the batting order, even though he was pitching extremely well. It just he went by the sabermetric and the statistics. Is Pat Murphy that same kind of guy?
Well, I think Murphy's management style, at least of his starters, is going to be very similar to probably what Counsell did in 2017, 2018, 2019, before Woodruff and Burns and Peralta turned into the really solid rotational pieces that they were. It was by committee, right? They were out-getters. That's what Counsell always said, and I think this season is going to be very similar because really like Freddie Peralta, we have yet to see if he can dominate as an ace for a full season. They like DL Hall's stuff. Don't know how it's going to look like every 5 days or every 6 days. You know, Jacob Junis, Jansen Junk, we don't know what Aaron Ashley's going to be. The Brewers and Pat Murphy, and I would agree with this assessment, believe that of this group of 6 or 7 guys, there's a starting rotation in there. They just got to figure out who is going to pop and who is going to step into those roles. And Murphy is correct. If he tries to manage this rotation the way that, you know, the previous manager managed Woodruff, Burns, Peralta, it's not going to work, right? Because they are not clear 1, 2, 3, you know, stud pitchers. It's going to be a committee. It's going to be a collective. So based on the day and based on the matchup, all of these guys' roles and their usage could look different. So I think it's going to be a very, as Matt LaFleur say, it's a fluid situation. And I think it will be as guys get injured, guys get healthy, DL Hall might progress, Aaron Ashby might progress. It's going to be ever changing, I think, with the starting rotation, which will be a big change from the last couple of years. And Murphy knows that his management style has to reflect that.
Hey, Grant, before we let you go, tell me about third base real quick. Do they have any indicator? I mean, they're working guys out over there. Is there any indicator that anybody's kind of grabbed a hold of the third base, you know, kind of the eyebrow raised right now that they're looking to nod one way or the other?
Not really. We asked Murphy about that, and he gave a list of like 4 or 5 guys. I would say to not count out Owen Miller playing a lot of third base. I think Pat Murphy really likes him. I think baseball managers in general, I mean, you remember Hernan Perez, baseball managers in general like guys who are versatile, or kind of well-rounded baseball players. I think Owen Miller is that guy. I don't think Tyler Black's going to be ready. Not really sure about Ortiz. I would say right now, Owen Miller. Don't discount his chances to play a lot of third base early.
Good stuff, Grant. Have a good show this afternoon. We'll talk to you again whether either tomorrow or later throughout the week, okay?
Hell yeah. Appreciate you, Bill. Missed you both. Excited to get back.
All right, bud. Talk to you. He's enjoying the weather. He's sitting in that broadcast booth looking at mountains off into the distance, Evo. He doesn't give 2 damns about us.
Either.
All right, that's going to do it. We're going to wrap it up for the day. Hump day tomorrow, and then we'll be back at it yet again.